The nightmare kicked off 3 centuries ago, right after the Great Disaster. That's when magic went rogue and tore reality apart. Hell literally rained down as the demon race invaded, launching a savage campaign to wipe us out. Humanity didn't just lose. Our population nosedived into near extinction, and civilization turned to ash. That is, until 10 legends awakened god-tier magic, erecting massive barriers to stop the slaughter. Those energy walls bought us time, holding the demon hordes at bay. We didn't just survive, we evolved into a brand new era. Now hitting 18 means unlocking your destiny, a specific profession. But those 10 original saviors, they did something different. They forged inherited professions, unique titles that only one living soul can hold at a time, becoming the pillars holding up the sky. Fast forward to Feichuan City, under a crisp blue sky. It's the year 335, April 1st on the cataclysm calendar. The atmosphere is electric because the profession awakening ceremony is about to pop off. A dusty cart screeches to a halt outside the skyscrapers, and the driver hollers that they've made it. Our boy Fang hops off the ride, shooting a quick thanks to Uncle Jiang before facing the music. The plaza is absolute chaos, packed shoulder to shoulder for the annual test. Fang scans the sea of heads, totally blown away, thinking, man, the hype is real. This place is a sardine can. See, this is the moment of truth for every young adult, stepping up to roll the dice on their future. You've got your tiers N rank, trash R rank, the coveted S rank, straight up to SR and the god tier UR rank. Higher rank equals insane combat power and landing a rare class. Is your golden ticket into the elite academies. Kids are swarming around the towering statues of past legends, desperate for some RNG luck. Fang observes the madness silently until a voice booms out begging the great berserker statue for a miracle, just hoping to snag at least an SR rank class. But the mood is broken by a loudmouth in the back, yelling at the front row to hurry it up because his turn is coming. Fang just chills nearby, watching the line inch forward. Then a girl clasps her hands toward a statue, gushing about how she's idolized Lady Tianu forever and pleading to inherit that noble title. The crowd instantly starts roasting her, wondering who's hallucinating this hard. In the middle of the day, intrigued by the frenzy, Fang nudges the guy next to him, asking what the big deal is. The dude looks at Fang like he's an alien. Bro, do you live under a rock? He explains there's a massive rumor circulating that a new inheritor is going to rise up today. Apparently, there are 4 empty seats at the top table, meaning 4 of those legendary classes are up for grabs. No wonder everyone is praying like their lives depend on it. Hearing the scoop, Fang realizes the thirst for power is way more intense this year. But to him, that just smells like a profit margin. Suddenly, magical fireworks detonate overhead, painting the sky and signaling it's go time. A shout ripples through the crowd. The exams are officially live. Inside the massive hall, examiners start barking out stats. Linhu R rank, level 10, 13 magic power. Next is poor Winsa, stuck with a trash N rank at level 8. But then the announcer drops a bomb with Guofei, who pulls a glorious S rank at level 34 with 55 magic power. He's instantly accepted. A short-haired student nearby nearly chokes, stunned that Guofei hit 55 power, muttering how he'd kill for numbers like that. That's Fang's cue. He whips out a bright red tomato, flashing it at the jealous guy and asking, "Hey buddy, want a tomato that boosts your magic juice?" The short-haired dude stares at him, totally baffled. He asks if this is some kind of joke. Fang grins and drops his credentials. "I'm a spirit plant doctor," explaining this isn't a salad ingredient. It's a premium hand-cultivated power-up. Eat this, and your magic spikes by 5% for 5 minutes. Yours for just 5 gold coins. He opens his bag to reveal a weird harvest: glowing tomatoes, long cucumbers, sweet potatoes, and little yellow beans. He rattles off the menu: hunger sweet potatoes for all-day fullness, fat-burning cucumbers for the gym rats, and strongman beans that jack up your attack by 10%. 2 bystanders start side-eyeing the merchandise. "Total scam," one whispers. "Never heard of these spirit plants before." Another guy is just confused, asking how a veggie can possibly buff magic and burn fat at the same time. Meanwhile, the short-haired guy is still gripping the tomato, and Fang urges the skeptics to just buy one and check their status window. Better than choking down those dry energy bars every day, right? Fang leans in with a shark-like grin, announcing first come, first served, folks. Stock is limited, so once they're gone, you're out of luck. Then he throws out the hook. First customer eats for free. The short-haired guy stares at the red fruit in his hand, sweat beading on his forehead. He looks super tense, but finally he takes a massive bite. His expression, still totally unsure. He chomps down on the raw vegetable. Crunch. Instantly his eyes pop open. He pumps a fist in the air, trembling with pure hype. A golden aura explodes behind him like a visual effect. He screams, "My magic power just spiked. I feel lighter than air." Nearby, a blonde guy drops his jaw, rubbing his eyes. Is he hallucinating? He recognizes those greens immediately. That's top-tier produce from the Extraordinary Academy's agricultural department, usually reserved for the elite SR rank classes. Fang leans in, whispering smoothly. It's a special promo for the test convention. Since everyone here is future Academy material, the blonde guy's eyes practically sparkle with greed. Hook, line, and sinker. Bag it up, he demands, slamming his hand down. I'll take your entire stock. Instantly, a mob forms around the stall. FOMO kicks in hard. Hey, back off, I was here first, one guy yells, shoving forward. Gimme 10 of them, another screams. Someone else is raving about the tomatoes, calling them god-tier harvest. My mana actually leveled up, a customer cheers. Fang watches the chaos unfold, a sly grin creeping across his face. He reflects on his situation. Sure, he's stuck with the basic farmer class, but ever since he maxed out his level, every crop he plants drops massive stat buffs. He admits, maybe he used some shady marketing tricks, but the product is legit, sold out in record time. Later, Fang chills outside a shop packing his bag. He's about to dip when he spots a shadow approaching. He looks up, it's the blonde guy from the crowd. Fang immediately switches to business mode, rattling off the inventory. Chestnut pumpkin seeds, 5 gold. Flower rhino fertilizer, 7 gold. Brewing sugar, 10 gold. And the mana boosting potions, that brings the total to 257 gold. He slips the blonde guy 10 gold coins. Here's your cut. Turns out Mr. Blondie isn't a customer, he's Fang's buddy. A classic plant in the audience to hype up the crowd. As the friend grabs the coin, Fang sighs. Still broke. I can't even afford the premium fertilizer for my fields. The friend grins, saluting him. Thanks, brother Fang. Your spirit plants are actually cracked though. Why don't you just mass produce them? Fang smacks him upside the head. You think farming buff-tier crops is easy? Get real. Cut to the two of them strolling under a perfect blue sky. The friend gets serious. It's such a waste, man. You were a certified prodigy as a kid, and now you're just… Fang cuts him off cold. Go home. Aunt Joe is waiting for you. Fang walks off alone under a bridge, the words stinging a bit. A childhood genius, who awakened as a trash-tier N-rank farmer. He remembers visiting his dad's grave. His dad was a legendary archdruid. Fang was terrified the old man would jump out of his coffin in shame, but he tries to stay positive. Herbalist mom, archdruid, dad. Maybe me being a farmer is just the universe balancing the stats. Real talk though, he vibes with the quiet life. No battlefields, no fighting, and no dying young like his father. His mom doesn't have to stress. He keeps walking. For mom's sake, I gotta run this farm right. Suddenly drip. A drop of water hits his cheek. He looks up confused. Rain. The sky is totally clear. Whoosh, the wind picks up, and a guy literally plummets from the heavens, face twisted in pure terror. Crash. The guy slams into the pavement. Fang freezes. What the hell just happened? Did the defense wall break? Demon invasion. Before his brain can process the chaos, the guy on the ground gasps for air, surrounded by rubble, a shattered lantern, and his bag. Bloodied and battered, the stranger clutches a device like a lifeline. He sputters out words, eyes wide with fear. Necromancer He Shao. He's a traitor. He's trying to transfer his class inheritance to the demon race. The guy tries to move, desperate to send a warning. Too late. The air ripples. A massive purple-wreathed dark claw materializes above him. The pressure is suffocating. Purple energy swallows the man whole. Fang watches from the shadows, paralyzed. What is this power? Transferring a class to the demons. That shouldn't even be possible. It sounds like madness. Suddenly, a silhouette steps out of the purple haze, a humanoid demon figure. He crushes the injured man effortlessly. A voice like gravel grinds through the mist. Foolish human. You saw everything, yet you ran toward your death instead of fleeing. The demon grips the corpse's shoulder, thinking, if that dark curse hadn't shredded his insides, he would have been miles away by now. Just one job left, swap his class to the demonic lineage and score immortality. But he dragged his feet, and the Academy's radar is definitely pinging him right now. Snap. The monster's gaze locked onto a presence nearby. Fang stood there, shaking like a leaf in a hurricane, desperate to ghost the scene. He just walked into a literal bloodbath. Figuring he was still under the radar, he plotted his silent exit. One slow step back, then another. Dead silent. Too slow. Violet energy flared around the beast as a clawed hand shot out, asking who gave him permission to walk. He snatched Fang by the neck, hoisting him off the ground like a rag doll. The monster sneered, gesturing to the corpse. Recognize him. That's the legendary Dean Ye. Went down screaming like a chump. He asked if he should splash Feng's blood and guts around as a tribute to the old man. Feng clamped his jaw shut, as suffocating violet smog coiled around his limbs. This sicko's power was off the charts, pure nightmare fuel. Completely paralyzed, Feng forced air into his lungs, mind racing. Think, is there anything here? Anything at all? What can hurt this thing? Then he saw it, a rusty garden hoe hovering in the chaos, pulsing with faint violet light. Feng threw his hand out, triggering his passive farm tool mastery. Ultimate technique farm tool summoning. The weapon flew into his grip. Knuckles white, he looked the beast dead in the eye. You want a tribute, do it yourself, you lazy creep. With a roar, he slammed the tool down, smashing the demon's grip. Go rot in the deepest pit of hell. Crack. The blow drew blood, forcing the monster to drop him. The demon staggered back, eyes wide. No. Impossible. A trash-tier farmer class hurting me. That shouldn't exist. Fang scrambled back, putting distance between them. He scanned the wreckage, spotting a relic near the dean's corpse. He lunged for it, some kind of arcane lantern, humming with power. Fang triggered the artifact, unleashing a blinding blue laser straight at the enemy. Boom, direct hit. The demon panicked, weaving dark magic into a swirling void shield to block the blast. While shadowy tendrils whipped out like corrupted roots, the energies collided, blue meets purple, triggering a massive shockwave. Dust choked the air. As the haze lifted, the beast was still standing, armor shattered, and absolutely livid. But before he could retaliate, weird violet glyphs started spinning over Feng's head. Runes encircled him like a cage. The demon froze, recognizing the pattern instantly. The Array Master's trap spell, he spat. The monster crouched, muscles coiling. As his aura flared wildly, he locked onto Feng with a predatory glare. Fine. If I can't leave, I'll just hijack your meat suit and walk out. Dark energy engulfed the beast. As he launched forward at light speed, Feng couldn't even blink before slam. He screamed as the entity invaded his soul. Shadows consumed him, dragging his consciousness into the void. Inside his mind, the demon grinned. Trash class, but decent stats. Consider it an honor to become my puppet kid. Feng let out a shaky, manic laugh, blue aura flaring to life. Buddy, I've been grinding daily since I was a toddler. 0 rest days. You want this body, you're gonna have to earn it. The intruder wasn't impressed. His voice boomed like thunder. A loser is still a loser. You can't comprehend my level. Reality snapped back. Feng hit the dirt, purple chains binding him tight. Guess my luck finally ran out, he wheezed, eyes dropping. But his fingers crept toward a stray blade, just inches away. Snatch. He gripped the handle and hoisted the steel, while dark aura suffocated him. But his eyes, crystal clear. Let's take a trip to hell together, yeah. The demon panicked. Wait, what are you doing? Stop, too late. Xing. Feng drove the blade deep into his own gut. Crimson sprayed everywhere. I'd rather die than let you drive. The world went blurry. A final thought drifted to his old man. Sorry, Dad. Don't yell at me when I see you. He slumped over, lights out, and the purple corruption tightened its grip until a blinding gold pulse erupted from his heart. Pure radiance flooded the scene. The demon recoiled, staring at the holy light in absolute terror. He stared into the abyss, questioning the source of that blinding radiance. Was his own magic finally going nuclear? Boom! The heavens tore open, unleashing a supernova of gold. The demon froze, eyes wide with terror, as searing beams of light shot out like celestial shrapnel. They branched out like veins of pure energy snapping shut around the monster. It stumbled back, trembling voice cracking in pure panic. No, this isn't real, it screamed. Rewriting reality wasn't an option. The golden web only tightened, digging into its flesh. Faster, tighter. The strands blurred into a solid, suffocating cocoon of light. The brightness ramped up to blinding levels. The pressure hit critical mass. Gravity warped around it until K-boom. A catastrophic explosion ripped from the core. Shards of dark energy and purple gore scattered everywhere. The entity inside was obliterated, and right on cue, a glitchy purple system interface popped up in the void. Congratulations, the notification flashed. New talent unlocked. Inherited profession Necromancer. Fade to black. Then gasps. Feng's eyes shot open. Sprawled in the dirt, he stared at his trembling palms and shredded gear. The reality check hit him hard. Wait, I'm not dead. He patted himself down, frantic. I'm actually in the driver's seat. My body is mine. That possession attempt was a total flop. Gathering his wits, he sat up, expression shifting from panic to icy focus. System open. A holographic purple screen materialized, hovering in the air. Time to check the damage. Feng's gaze locked onto the data, scanning the new specs with deadly seriousness. There it was. Name Lin Feng. Profession Spirit Farm Master. Tags, Mutated, Unique. Cool. Curious. He swiped left to bring up the deep dive stats panel. The full breakdown loaded. Lin Feng, the one and only Mutated Spirit Farm Master. Level 1. But look at those stats. 300, Strength, 300, Constitution, 100, Agility, and 110 Magic Power, 100 Spirit, and a crazy 300, Luck. Skill list. Rapid land clearing, efficient planting, rapid harvesting. Yield, increase max, level farm tool mastery. But here's the kicker. Undead affinity, transcendent growth, undead summoning, and soul extraction. Feng squinted at the display. Whoa. His jaw tightened. His level had been hard reset to Big Fat 1, but he kept his endgame stats. Every single maxed out farmer attribute carried over. Even better, that demon's soul juice buffed his magic power. The implication was insane once he started leveling up again. He'd shatter the level cap of the farmer class entirely. But then he frowned at the skill list. Undead summoning, he muttered. Great, I can raise the dead. Let's just hope I don't accidentally bring him back. Time to test drive. He flexed his left hand, emerald green energy spiraled around his fingertips. Classic farmer vibes. Then he raised his right hand, tapping into that alien sensation. Crackle. Vicious purple lightning coiled around his skin. He stared, mesmerized by the dark voltage arcing into the air. He shoved his hands together. Green met purple fusing into a volatile cocktail of life and death. It hit him. The nurturing energy of the farmer was hybridizing with the necrotic power of the undead. Sweat beaded on his forehead. He squeezed his eyes shut, visualizing his internal core. The profession chart lit up like a Christmas tree. On one side, the serene green chart. On the other, a chaotic web of violet lightning. New branches were sprouting fast. His gut twisted. His profession tree hadn't just grown, it had bifurcated. He didn't swap classes. He dual-classed. Fang stared, mind blown. He clocked a specific symbol on the purple chart. No way. That demon wasn't just some grunt. He was an awakener holding a legendary inherited profession, the Necromancer. Fang glanced at the spectral purple outline, fading on the floor. You were a Necromancer, the profession tree pulsed, answering him with raw power. Violet static surged through his veins. He looked at his palm, green and purple energy swirled in a toxic, beautiful rhythm. But it felt foreign, wrong. Anxiety spiked in his chest. If he didn't domesticate this energy right now, if he didn't make it, his things were going to go south fast. His farmer class would implode, and his soul that demon would eat it for breakfast. Fang face-palmed, feeling secondhand embarrassment. He glared at the skill tree. Compared to the cool purple, his yellow farming icons looked like dirty mud. Whatever. He stepped into a glowing violet circle. Arcane runes orbited him. He raised a hand commanding the abyss. Skill activate undead summoning. Boom. Purple shockwaves fractured the earth. The very air vibrated as debris defied gravity, floating up into the charged atmosphere. Violet arcs of lightning slammed into the Necromancer, and his human victim churning the energy into a chaotic storm. The swirling vortex condensed and two silhouettes materialized from the gloom. One radiated a ghostly pale blue aura. It was Yu Ya, reborn as a level 1 undead sage. Beside him, the second figure blazed with purple intensity, decked out in jagged armor. That was He Shao reset to a level 1 undead wild hunt. Fang stared, realizing he had successfully resurrected the very enemies he just defeated. Their levels were wiped back to the start, but their legendary skill trees remained unlocked and ready for action, meaning they could grind their way back to power. But the commotion was too loud. Fang knew the law enforcement squad was already en route. He had to ghost immediately. Spinning on his heel, he bolted, fully aware of the optics. Absolutely nobody would believe a humble farmer just soloed 2 high-tier elites. If word got out about his new abilities, he'd have a target on his back. Fang grabbed his pack and vanished into the distance. His mind raced with a new objective. He needed a sanctuary, somewhere that offered protection, resources, and high-tier soil. He needed a safe zone to beta test this volatile new power, and finally execute his father's theoretical research. Fast forward 24 hours to the family farmland bathed in clear sunlight. Fang paced the fields, his expression tight. A whole day had passed, yet the Necromancer's eerie vibe still clung to his class profession, like a glitched status effect. Ignoring the unease, he flipped open his laptop to check the feed. A suit was talking on the finance channel. The anchor smiled, announcing the birthday celebration of a legendary agricultural veteran. Back in reality, Fang inspected a sapling in his palm. Purple electricity crackled around his fingertips. As he analyzed the sprout, it wasn't just this one. Every crop exposed to his aura was glitching out. The mutations were aggressive. Vines thickened into muscular cords, stretching greedily under a sky that felt heavy with violet static. Stems twisted into alien geometries, weaving net-like traps that glistened ominously in the daylight. Suddenly, a plant swelled into a massive, pulsating cabbage bulb. Purple light throbbed from its core until, boom, it burst open, spewing thick smog. In a blink, a dark tentacle lashed out, snatching a passing bird right out of the sky. Violet spikes erupted from the plant's surface as the bird thrashed helplessly. Fang watched, paralyzed, jaw hitting the floor as he surveyed the monstrous flora taking over his field. "What is even happening?" he shouted, voice cracking. Panic set in as the implications hit him. If the public saw these botanical horrors, they'd scream demon invasion. Fang grabbed a shovel, frantic, muttering that he had to bury the evidence immediately. He stared at the spot where he'd just crushed the mutated cabbage, realization dawning on him. His necromantic energy was biohacking these plants. But what if he could control the mutation? If he could guide the energy, he wouldn't just be growing food, he'd be engineering supercrops. This was the key to unlocking the rare variants his dad theorized but never managed to cultivate. He visualized high-value harvests capable of boosting a user's profession level. But his brainstorming was cut short by a breaking news alert on the TV. A grim-faced anchor reported that the inherited profession holder, Necromancer He Shao, had staged a violent rebellion yesterday and murdered Dean Yu Ya. The report emphasized that He Xiao was now a fugitive with severe charges. A massive bounty was promised for intel, and aiding him was a one-way ticket to prison. Fang watched the screen, his expression unreadable. The narrative was playing out exactly as he predicted. He had to ensure nobody ever discovered that he was the one wielding the Necromancer's powers now. Glancing at his gear piled by the wall, he realized his new undead minions needed a rebranding to pass inspection, or he'd be dead meat. Suddenly, a lightbulb moment hit him, eyes widening. With a stroke of genius, he'd simply label them farm servants. His status panel already identified him as a spirit farm master, so it was the perfect cover. Totally normal for a farm master to have some hired help. As the plan clicked into place, the reporter dropped another bombshell. To counter the rising demon threat, the Extraordinary Academy was expanding enrollment. The kicker: anyone who passed the entrance exam would get full academy backing and their own private estate, primed specifically for cultivating high-tier crops plus subsidies. The reporter added that admitted students could even hire farmers to assist with high-recovery harvests. Fang froze. This was it. Fang surveyed the academy grounds. Secure, fertile, and stacked with resources. It was perfect. He weighed his options. His true identity as a necromancer, that was a ticking time bomb waiting to blow up in his face, but a spirit farm master. To the world, that's just a harmless gardener. He told himself he had to finesse his way into this academy no matter the cost. A few days later, the scene shifted to the Extraordinary Academy's registration plaza. Inside the hall, a lineup of examiners in sharp black suits manned a massive desk like gatekeepers. One of them barked for the next applicant, eyes dead, voice monotonous, demanding the standard rundown: name, age, awakened class, and level. Fang stepped into the spotlight. Adjusting his backpack, he kept his cool. 18 years old. Profession spirit farm master, he stated flatly. Level 1. The examiner paused, the words hanging in the air. Spirit farm master, he repeated, genuinely confused. He scanned Feng's paperwork, a scowl forming. He'd never even heard of the class, probably just another non-combat support role, trying to sneak a free ride. Prove it, he demanded. Release your aura. Fang raised a hand, and emerald energy swirled around his palm, flowing like concentrated life force. The examiner looked at the display with pure disgust. He leaned back, unimpressed, dismissing it as the trash aura of a peasant class. He waved Fang off. Don't waste my time, he shouted, signaling for the next kid. The crowd behind Fang erupted into laughter. Spirit farm master, one student mocked. Did he just invent that class? Another cracked up. A level 1 farmer applying here. That's actually hilarious. Go back to your crops, buddy, the jeers continued. Instructor Lee is right, someone added. Guys like him just tank the school's reputation. They sneered, claiming they wouldn't even hire him to weed their backyards. Fang stood like a statue, ignoring the hate. He locked eyes with Instructor Lee. It's a mutated variant, Fang explained, his voice steady. Just give me a shot. My fundamentals are solid. I won't let you down. But that just triggered the instructor. Lee slammed the desk. Solid fundamentals. You're level 1. A rookie like you doesn't have any foundation. He signaled security. Throw this clown out. Fang didn't flinch. He stepped forward, citing the rulebook. The recruitment notice explicitly says all professionals can test. Watch your step, Fang warned, his tone dropping. I could report this. He whipped out his smartphone, flashing a smug grin. He pantomimed, dialing the supervision bureau. Hello, I have a teacher here blocking a valid applicant. Lee's face went pale. He panic lunged across the desk, snatching the phone from Feng's grip. His expression twisted into pure rage. You little, he roared. You dare threaten me. You'll regret this, Lee hissed. You really think a level 1 farmer can survive the entrance exam? The students in line started whispering. Even if he is just a farmer, class 1 muttered. Lee is tripping right now. Yeah, another agreed. The instructor is losing it. Someone dropped the lore I heard Lee failed his promotion exam. That's why he's stuck working admissions. Stung by the truth, Lee turned on the crowd, screaming. Anyone who doesn't want a test can get lost right now. His voice cracked with irritation as the students stared. A while later, the group trudged after the fuming instructor. Fang blended in with the pack. They reached a massive structure strangled by giant, gnarled roots. A crowd was already waiting. Lee glanced back, sneering. Last chance to quit, kid, he taunted. Fang just walked past him. Thanks for the escort, he said coolly. The entrance was boarded up, plastered with danger signs. 2 glowing portals swirled on the ground. Fang stepped in with the rest. Inside, it was a jungle gym of doom. Fang leaped through the air, ricocheting off the massive timber roots. He stuck the landing on a thick branch, finding his center. Fang narrowed his eyes. Time to show these horned rabbits. The true terror of industrialized agriculture. He sat, producing a jar of glowing orange dust. Carrot essence powder, he smirked, holding up his latest invention. This stuff is potent. It can bait a level 20 mighty rabbit, he explained. For these low-level critters, it's overkill. Piece of cake. He knelt, dusting the soil with the vibrant powder. creating a precise trail around his position. Boom. Instant harvest. Carrots erupted from the dirt. Moments later, a pink horned rabbit hopped into view. It sat in the grass, mesmerized by the feast, eyes wide with joy. It never saw what was coming. Suddenly, Feng's powerful undead summons materialized behind it. Cloaked in ominous violet energy, the beast surged forward. Bam! It blitzed the rabbit, blasting it backward with the explosive force of a lightning strike. Feng stood flanked by his new minions. On his left, a jagged knight in midnight blue armor. On his right, a spirit wreathed in pulsating purple aura. Passive farming. Too slow, Feng scoffed. He leaned in, locking eyes with his summons. Listen up. Here is the play. Keep a low profile, no witnesses. But I want every single horned rabbit in this zone erased. His eyes gleamed with icy determination. Maximum casualties. On his command, the two undead assassins exploded into motion. They were blurs of neon blue and violet light weaving through the massive tree roots. The purple wraith unsheathed a colossal blade, and swoosh decapitated a dozen rabbits in a single clean arc. Simultaneously, the rest of the herd floated helplessly into the air, trapped in glowing azure spheres. The armored knight drifted through the chaos, like a conductor, manipulating the swirling mana to keep the prey locked down. Then snap one finger flick, and the entire group was annihilated. Watching the carnage from the shadows, Fang muttered under his breath. These guys are absolute units. Hard to believe they are only level 1. Talk about an RNG jackpot. But his victory lap was cut short. Ding. The massive bell echoed. Time is up. Back at base camp, Examiner Lee, looking slick in his black suit, barked orders at the tent entrance. All right, show is over. Get out here. Time to pay the toll. Cough up those horns. Students shuffled into a line, terrified, as Lee roasted them one by one. 2 horns. Fail. 3. Get out of my face. He turned to a trembling kid with empty hands and practically screamed, 0 scram before I make you regret it. The crowd murmured, confused. Dude, aren't rabbits supposed to be starter mobs? Why is the spawn rate so low today? One guy shrugged. Honestly, finding 4 is god tier right now. Most people got nothing. Looks like they will be repeating a year. Then Fang stepped up to the plate. Examiner Lee scowled, visibly disgusted. Well, if it isn't the trash. Bet you didn't even catch a cold, let alone a rabbit. Dump your pockets, loser. Feng didn't say a word. He just smirked, raised a hand, and let a neon green inventory glyph spin around his fingers. Special delivery. He opened the storage dimension. Whoosh. A literal tsunami of pink. Horned rabbit carcasses crashed down like a landslide. It was an avalanche of fluff piling higher and higher, until Examiner Lee was completely buried. Just his flailing limbs stuck out of the rabbit mountain. The other students dropped their jaws, as the rabbits kept spilling out, flooding the entire clearing. Feng just stood there, hands in pockets, chilling, and admiring the chaos. Lee and his assistant clawed their way out, eyes popping out of their skulls. Feng flashed a savage grin. That is 500 horns, by the way. Care to do a recount? Lee's face turned purple. He sputtered, pointing a shaking finger. You cheated. There is no way. Enough. The teaching director materialized out of nowhere, his face like stone, glaring down at the petty examiner. A grown man bullying a student. Pathetic. Lee froze, sweating buckets. D-director, what are you doing here? If I hadn't stepped in, incompetent fools would have let my entire rabbit stock go to waste due to 0 professional ethics. He turned his gaze to Feng. You pass. Preliminary cleared. Feng offered a respectful deep bow and thanked him. I appreciate the fairness, sir. As Feng looked up, the director paused. He squinted, leaning in uncomfortably close. You feel familiar. Do I know you? Feng's eyes narrowed into slits. A cold drop of sweat trickled down Feng's temple. He stayed quiet, backing away slowly, panic rising in his chest. Did he figure it out? Does he know I am a necromancer? Fang braced himself for the worst. The director towered over him, expression unreadable. Then he dropped the bomb. What is your relationship to Professor Lin Xie? Feng blinked. The tension left his body instantly. Oh, is that all? He doesn't know my secret. Feng let out a mental sigh of relief. Lin Xie is my father, Feng replied smoothly. You know him. The director's stern face instantly melted into a grin. I knew it. You are his kid. He leaned in excitedly. Your dad and I go way back. You are enrolling here, right? Look, if you need anything at all, Uncle has got your back. I can pull some strings. He was about to ramble on when a woman in a crisp white dress and glasses stepped in. Her long pink hair swayed as she moved. Ahem, director, she whispered sharply. Eyes are on you. The director spun around. The entire student body was gawking, whispering loudly about the obvious favoritism. Right, just thinking out loud. He cleared his throat and turned back to Feng. I have got business to attend to, but once you are officially in, I will give you the grand tour personally. He marched off, but a split second later, with a cinematic swirl of smoke, his body vaporized into thin air, leaving fans staring at the empty space as a cold bead of sweat traced a nervous line down his jaw. He couldn't shake the feeling that the teaching director gave off some seriously sketchy vibes, but his thoughts were cut short when the pink-haired instructor took center stage. Throwing her arms up like she owned the place, she declared that the survivors of the prelims needed to stick with her while telling the washouts to chill and not rage quit just yet, promising them another shot at glory next season before the scene hard cut to a high-stakes strategy room inside the solar branch. Suits lined the conference table, tension thick in the air, while a long-haired guy stood before a massive digital board, plastered with shadow figures and intel breaking down how Dean Yuyi and Heisho went MIA at the exact same moment. He theorized that the dean likely stumbled onto Heishu's dark secrets and got spotted during the chase. The narrative was that they took each other out, but the presenter insisted there was a hidden puppet master who swooped in and snatched Heisho's legacy talent. Hyped up on his own theory, he claimed that finding the user of the undead talent was the smoking gun they needed to crack the entire conspiracy wide open, jabbing his finger at the board like he'd solved the ultimate puzzle. But another suit wasn't buying it, clutching his head like he had a migraine, and telling the excited guy Toka that while they respected the hustle for merit points, he needed to quit with the brainless fan fiction. That snapped Tuka's patience. He slammed his hand on the table, voice trembling with rage as he screamed about being ignored. He swore on his life to just wait and watch, promising to drag the receipts back to prove them all wrong. Across the table, two officers sat frozen, sweat dripping down their faces like they were interrogation suspects. As Toka stormed out in a huff, a woman whispered nervously to her partner, wondering if it was smart to let someone with Duke-level connections walk away angry, causing the man to whip around in shock. But before he could react, the teaching director teleported into the room. Materializing through a vortex of white energy, he coldly stated that the trash took itself out, reminding them the Solar Academy was for building legends, not handing out participation trophies. He then dropped the bomb orders had come down from high command. The objective was a total kill order on Heisho. He grilled the two officers to make sure they got the memo. The woman hesitated, asking the obvious question. What if the target was already dead? The director didn't even make eye contact, suggesting Heisho might be catfishing them with a new face. So he laid down the law. Anyone caught using Necromancer skills was to be deleted from existence, no questions asked. Meanwhile, the mission hall was buzzing with energy, students packed under the floodlights while a massive blue portal swirled behind the stage, bathing the room in an eerie glow as the rookies chatted nervously. Suddenly, the pink-haired teacher stepped out of the rift, like a boss took the podium, and dropped the mission details. The re-exam was a hardcore speedrun. Every new student had to clear the Magic Horn Beast Lair, a level 5 specialized dungeon, situated just outside the city limits. The kicker: they had a strict time limit of just 3 hours. The crowd instantly freaked out, with students panicking that as level 4 or 5 noobs, clearing a dungeon that intense in such a short window was basically a suicide mission. One guy questioned if it was even mathematically possible. Another argued that maybe they could chip down the final boss, but a full clear in 3 hours was totally insane. The instructor just flashed a chill smile and dropped the twist. This wasn't a solo campaign. She announced that squads were allowed, capping each party at a maximum of 5 players. Once they formed their dream team, they had to clock in to start their timer. Instantly, hands shot up everywhere like it was a concert. People started shouting for teammates, looking for a tank to soak damage, or burst mages to bring the DPS. A girl named Zhao Nanyang jumped in, asking if any high-level seniors wanted to hard carry her through the run. Amidst the chaos, Fan stood apart from the mob, backpack slung over one shoulder, looking like a total loner. He was focused on his translucent system interface, analyzing the quest specs floating in front of his eyes. While he was minding his own business, a pair of bright red high-heeled boots strutted into his personal space. Fan glanced up to see a girl with pink twin buns standing right there, beaming with a friendly smile. She introduced herself as a level 7 mage and dropped a bomb. She'd seen his performance in the prelims and watched him slaughter those magic-horned rabbits. Calling his skills impressive, she hit him with a party invite. Fan kept a poker face. Internally, he knew a level 7 mage was OP enough to solo this dungeon without breaking a sweat. If he was still just a farmer class, he'd have jumped at the free carry, but his Necromancer kit was a secret he couldn't risk leaking. He had to dodge this bullet. Rubbing the back of his head with a casual grin, he told her he was a solo player, gently shutting her down. The girl didn't even flinch, keeping her vibe positive as she wished him a smooth run. She pivoted on her heels, the red stilettos clicking against the floor as she strutted away. Fang didn't look back either, marching in the opposite direction to tackle the mission solo. He beelined for the instructor with the bubblegum pink hair and leaned casually over the counter. When she heard he was flying solo, she frowned, warning him that this dungeon wasn't exactly a walk in the park. Feng just shrugged it off, totally unbothered, and told her to just hand over the mission assignment. She slid a scroll across the desk, eyeing him suspiciously. She figured he was gunning for the exclusive solo clear reward, the legendary black bear gallbladder. She explained that for a rookie student, that item was basically a cheat code for leveling up, but she dropped a serious warning. Ambition is good, but knowing your limits keeps you alive. Fang snatched the scroll with a confident smirk, tossing a quick thanks for the heads up over his shoulder. Cut to the next scene. Outside the magic horn beast lair, the atmosphere was heavy. A massive portal framed by jagged skeletal spikes swirled with ominous electric blue energy. A few academy staff members stood sentinel at the entrance. Fang approached with a steady stride. One guard stepped up, scanning behind Fang. "Where's the rest of your squad?" Fang didn't blink. "Just me." The guards exchanged worried glances. "Kid, a level 5 dungeon is a suicide mission for a solo runner," one warned, clearly concerned. He advised Fang to go recruit a team before getting himself killed. But Fang just gripped the mission scroll tighter. Staring dead ahead, his voice remained ice cold. "The rulebook says, solo entry is permitted." The two gatekeepers whispered to each other. One figured Fang was thirsty for that rare solo drop, the bear gall bladder. The other admitted the kid had guts but questioned if he had the muscle to back it up. With no rule to stop him, they stepped aside. The glowing gateway flared to life as the entrance activated. One examiner shot him a final look, muttering a soft good luck. Inside, a cavernous nightmare. The rocky floor was carpeted with countless eggs of varying colors piled high against jagged, tooth-like walls. A dark path wound deeper into the lair. Fang moved forward as the safety of the blue entrance light faded into the black behind him. He stepped into the gloom, stone-faced. Suddenly hissing, two lizard-like monstrosities with lashing tongues scrambled toward him from the shadows. He sized them up instantly. "Level 3 and 4, please." These trash mobs were barely a warm-up. Hitting level 6 had changed the game. Fang summoned his undead legion, and they exploded forward in a blur of neon blue and purple energy. They shredded the two lizards instantly. But the victory was short-lived. A swarm of monsters came rushing out of the dark. Fang scanned the growing horde and suppressed a sigh. The manual mentioned high density, but this mob size was ridiculous. He stared into a massive void where hundreds of glowing red eyes peered back from the darkness. Every inch of the floor and walls around him was crusted with unhatched lizard eggs. Fang didn't panic. Instead, he grinned. "Perfect time to test drive my new summoning technique." Arcs of violet lightning crackled around him as he triggered undead summoning. The electricity twisted in the air, weaving together into monstrous silhouettes. The corpses of the two lizards he just zeroed shuddered and rose again. Reborn as undead, they appeared right in front of him. Their bodies burned with ghostly blue flames, their forms flickering like living shadows. They stood ready, awaiting instructions. Fang pointed a finger at the incoming wave. "Charge." The undead horde surged forward like a tsunami. Streaks of arcane energy lit up the tunnel, shaking the very cavern walls. Behind Fang, his two elite humanoid undead stood on a ridge, observing the carnage, watching the lizard minions. Fang took mental notes. The beast-type undead retained their feral aggression but were dumb as rocks, only good for following basic orders. He observed them quietly. On the plus side, they were cheap on mana consumption. He paused, wondering if their low IQ could handle simple grunt work, like hauling water buckets back at the farm. Time to send in the pros. Fang deployed his humanoid undead and they dashed forward, leaving trails of luminous light in their wake. They moved with lethal precision. The purple-clad undead drew a long sword, wreathed in crackling lightning, and slashed through the air. Power surged as he cut through a flock of airborne beasts in a single strike. Feathers exploded everywhere. Meanwhile, the blue humanoid undead wove hand signs and cast a spell. Blue energy coalesced around him before launching a barrage of energy orbs that locked onto the flying monsters like heat-seeking missiles. Watching his elites work, Fang nodded in approval. These guys had actual intelligence. They utilized their past life skills and adapted to the combat flow. He stood with hands on his hips, a satisfied smirk on his face, thinking they'd be perfect for complex agricultural tasks later, like weeding and fertilizer management. By now, the lizard squad had finished cleaning house. Fang raised his hand, ready to spam his undead summon skill again. Jagged spears of dark magic erupted outward, detonating the lizard corpses in a volatile blast of necromantic energy. A holographic system window materialized instantly before his eyes, flashing a sweet notification. Level 7, achieved. Behind him, a legion of skeletal lizards and avian undead clawed their way into existence, wreathed in ghostly blue flames. Their eyes burned with a piercing spectral light as they hovered in formation. Fang stood amidst the chaos, completely unbothered, merely noting that the farming efficiency wasn't half bad. He strolled down the corridor, stepping into a cavernous chamber. Even he had to admit, hitting the boss room in 30 minutes was a speedrun record. Crack, the sound of heavy metal shearing echoed through the hall. Massive chains shattered like glass. The floor trembled violently as a titanic bear-like monstrosity lumbered out of the darkness. Its eyes radiated a blinding white fury, dragging broken shackles as it unleashed a deafening roar that shook the very air. Fang's gaze sharpened, sizing up the beast. Finally, a worthy punching bag to test his squad's total combat output. He snapped his fingers, summoning the full roster. Every humanoid and beast undead in his arsenal materialized at his back. Dark energy surged as they fell into formation. Fang barked orders instantly. Hey Xiao, you're on tank duty, hold the front line. Wu Ya hit it with curses and debuffs. The rest of you target the joints and eyes, cripple it. At his signal, the undead legion surged forward like a tidal wave, crashing straight into the colossal bear. While they tore into the beast's hide, making it howl in rage, Fang casually unrolled a picnic mat and popped open a snack box. With his backpack resting beside him, he looked like he was on a lunch break, casually spectating the brutal deathmatch unfolding meters away. He nodded approvingly at his minions' improved synergy, tossing a fresh grape into his mouth. Ping A notification hovered. Magic power recovered by 666 points. The mana kept spiking with every grape he devoured. Suddenly, his elite purple undead lunged. The boss swiped its massive claws in defense, but the attack bounced harmlessly off the purple warrior, who closed the distance in a blur. Channeling a torrent of lightning into its fist, the undead soldier delivered a devastating uppercut. Boom! The impact cratered the floor, triggering a shockwave of blinding energy that completely engulfed the monster. Another system window popped up instantly. Sweet victory. Level 8 reached. As the bear dissolved, loot bags dropped to the floor, radiating a warm golden glow. Fang didn't waste time crouching to inspect the drop. Hovering above his palm was a grotesque, pulsating red organ. He scowled. Seriously, just a 10-point boost to Constitution. Total trash. He could get better stats just by munching on his own homegrown supercrops. But then another chime. The system interface flashed, calculating dungeon rewards. It acknowledged his dual status, farmer and necromancer, and initiated a double payout. 2 dazzling golden chests materialized from thin air. Fang actually froze eyes wide. 2 sets of rewards. It had to be a perk of running dual classes. A gear turned in his head, and a cunning smirk curled his lips. If the system doubled dungeon loot, then maybe there was a way to exploit his crops for exponential gains too. Dungeon cleared, Fang strolled out into the sunlight. The crowd of hunters waiting outside went dead silent, staring at him in disbelief. Did he just solo that? One guy muttered. The murmurs started spreading like wildfire. Impossible, someone shouted, voice dripping with skepticism. That cave is a death trap. No way a rookie handled that alone. He probably just camped at the entrance to save face. Another hater chimed in. Look at him, his gear is spotless. You don't fight through a beast swarm and come out looking laundry fresh. Fang ignored the noise completely. He walked straight to the mission center, cool as a cucumber. He approached the pink-haired instructor and slapped the scroll on the counter. Mission complete. She scanned the scroll. A bright green checkmark pinged on her monitor, verification successful. The instructor's jaw nearly hit the desk. Her eyes went wide as the data sank in. A full clear. Solo run. Fang just gave a subtle, self-satisfied smile, keeping his cool composure. He knew what he'd done. Back inside the academy hall, the instructor clutched the completion scroll tight. She regained her professional mask, looking at Fang with a serious edge. I'll file this with academic affairs, she told him, her voice dropping lower. But be warned, clearing a dungeon solo attracts attention. That playstyle? Way too reckless. She warned that if a freshman got flatlined in a dungeon on day 1, it would be a PR nightmare for the academy. Fang didn't flinch, that signature unbothered smile plastered on his face. He dipped his head, playing the role of the obedient student perfectly. The instructor pushed up her frames, her expression softening just a bit. She dropped the intel. The final instructor interviews were kicking off in the auditorium momentarily, so he better catch a breath while he could. Fang gave another nod and pivoted, strolling down the sun-drenched corridor, with his hands buried in his pockets. On the other side of the glass, a squad of seniors locked eyes on him. The gossip started immediately, their gazes trailing him as he rounded the corner, noting the upperclassman's interest. The pink-haired instructor let out a heavy sigh and adjusted her glasses again. She silently hoped this little dungeon run would be a wake-up call for Fang. Acting like a hero in here was a one-way ticket to getting crushed out in the real world. Fang navigated the academy's woodland trail. Shafts of sunlight pierced the canopy, illuminating a faint magical barrier rippling between the trunks. He was cruising through the silence when his instincts flared. Something was off. His eyes narrowed to slits as he clocked the presence tailing him. Stashed behind the timber, 3 guys were doing a terrible job of hiding clutching camouflage cloths, like amateur ninjas. Fang didn't break stride, just casually raised a hand as a subtle, purple glyph materialized around his fingertips. A few yards back, the trio was spiraling in a nervous huddle. One guy scowled, whispering that since Fang soloed a dungeon, he couldn't be a total scrub. He was sweating the risk. The second guy waved it off, insisting that even if Fang was cracked, he was still stuck in single-digit levels. There's a hard cap on that kind of power. The third guy chimed in. Fang just cleared a map, so his mana bar has to be empty. Nobody saw him pop a potion. Their ego started creeping back in. One of them grinned, confident they could just stat check him with numbers. Another hyped the group up, reminding them about the prize, the demon bear gall. That's a permanent 10-point stamina boost on the line. Spotting Fang, drifting further away, The leader signaled the rush. They broke cover, screaming at his back. Yo, hey Dirt Digger. Freeze. Fang halted, tilting his head back with zero urgency. You talking to me? He asked. The squad stomped forward, radiating toxic confidence as they boxed him in. One mocked him, sneering. Aren't you scared you're going to explode, hogging all that loot to yourself? Another claimed it was pure RNG. He must have just gotten lucky and stumbled on the treasure. He demanded Fang cough up the demon bear gall and the skill scroll right now. Suddenly, they flared their auras, bodies bathed in aggressive blue light. One guy leveled a finger at Fang's face, warning that if he didn't get smart, they were about to give him a crash course in what a real combat class looks like. Fang just stood there unfazed. He scanned the wannabe gangsters and asked flatly why out of everyone they decided to target him. The leader stepped up. Pointing with dramatic flair, he asked if Fang was genuinely clueless or just trolling. A lackey broke it down that solo clear reward, the demon bear gall, was a god-tier item giving 10 stamina. A literal peasant class like a farmer had no business holding that kind of heat. Hearing the logic, Fang ran a quick mental calc. Demon bear gall plus 10 stamina versus his stamina watermelons, which also give plus 10 stamina. Fang squinted, genuinely confused. Is a 10-point boost really worth Grand Theft Auto? He thought about the melons he harvested by the truckload every summer that gave the exact same buff without the life or death dungeon grind. He lifted his hand and pulled the demon bear gall from his inventory. Crimson energy swirled around his fingers as the item materialized in his grip. You mean this little thing? The moment the short-haired guy saw the loot, he lunged, like a feral dog. He reached out screaming for Fang to hand it over. Boom! A fireball detonated right in the gap between them. A violent shockwave of flame and smoke erupted, bathing the clearing in scorching golden light. The blast threw the short-haired aggressor backward, eyes wide as he stared at the wall of fire. A split second later, a pink-haired girl dashed into the fray. She slammed her staff down in front of Fang, glaring at the ambushers. What do you think you're doing? She snapped. She reminded them that PvP was strictly banned on campus, and warned them they were flirting with expulsion. The short-haired guy raised his weapon, trying to spin the narrative. He insisted this was none of her business. It was just between them and the farmer. But the girl stepped forward, blocking their path without blinking. Her gaze hardened. She made it clear if it disgusted her, then it was absolutely her business. She hoisted her staff, mesmerizing flames dancing around the tip. This was the final warning scramble now. Or she's snitching to the instructor. Let's see who bleeds more then. Upon hearing that, the leader just smirked, pure arrogance plastered on his face. He didn't flinch. He just scoffed, claiming reports only matter if she survives to file them. And since she's playing hero for Fang, she's going down too. He roared at his squad, signaling the kill command. End this fast. Two goons blitzed forward, weapons crackling with ominous blue energy. They barreled toward Fang and the pink-haired girl. But Fang, he just calmly analyzed his defender. He clocked her stats immediately. Level 7. That meant she wasn't just strong. She was a certified powerhouse. Could she clear these trash mobs solo? He barely had time to wonder before the girl made her move. She glared at the thugs, eyes blazing with fury. You guys play dirty, she spat, pivoting her stance. She turned to Fang, wanna team up, but the words barely left her mouth before she realized he wasn't there. She spun around, stunned. Fang was already gone, sprinting through the forest like a track star leaving the starting block. He totally ghosted her, zero hesitation. But as he hightailed it out of there, he tossed something back in her direction. A crimson blur, the demon bear gall. Her combat instincts kicked in, and she snagged it out of the air with a clean one-handed catch. Her jaw dropped. She stared at the prize, the red energy coiling around her fingers like living smoke. In the distance, Fang waved with a cheeky grin. Thanks, Pinky, that little souvenir. It belongs to you now. Before her brain could even process the betrayal, the three goons shifted aggro straight to her. They looked murderous. Blue energy flared around their bodies as they launched themselves at her full send. Are you kidding me? She screamed at the sky. I try to help, and now I'm the one getting mugged. Make it make sense. Scene switched to a quiet safe zone. Fang is chilling on a sofa, towel around his neck, looking fresh as a daisy. He dumped his inventory. He picked up a scroll, annoyed. Why is this dungeon drop basically a paperweight for me? He froze. Gears started turning. His eyes narrowed as a light bulb went off. Wait, unless. Fang sandwiched the scroll between his palms. He didn't just push mana. He fused green and purple energy, injecting the cocktail straight into the paper. The energy swirled around it like mystic fire, and boom, a system window materialized right in his face. Skill unlocked, special cultivation. Another tab flickered open to break down the stats. It was a beginner-tier cheat skill. Basically, it let him burn mana and specific materials to juice up his undead summons. We're talking level boosts, quality upgrades, or even unlocking new skills for them. Reading that, Fang went ballistic. He jumped up, pumping his fist. It actually worked, the secret key. He needed to channel mana from both his classes simultaneously to trigger it. Time to test drive. Fang summoned his entire undead squad. The massive shadow warrior rose up, looming over him in the small room. Arcs of neon violet and electric blue lightning crackled across his skin. Fang stood there, shirt off, main character energy off the charts. He raised a hand, exuding pure confidence. Time to take this new skill for a test drive, he announced. Emerald mana flickered at his fingertips as he locked in his face, totally unbothered, like he already knew he was about to break the game. Hey Kui, that towering behemoth, was the first to react. Boom, violet flames erupted from its core as its power spiked wildly, and a holographic system notification popped up, confirming the stats. Rank up, level 6 to level 8. Next on the roster was Yu Ye, the one decked out in frost armor. A vortex of azure energy swallowed him whole. His aura intensified, instantly matching his peer by jumping straight from level 6 to 8. The demon-horned bear wasn't far behind. Cerulean light engulfed that massive tank-like frame, boosting its level from 7 all the way to 9. Even the smaller units, the horned lizard and horned eagle, bathed in that same blinding blue glow. They leveled up in sync, climbing from level 5 and 6 to a solid level 7. Fang watched the light show, tilting his head just a fraction. A smirk tugged at the corner of his lips. He nodded, satisfied. Not bad, he murmured. Not bad at all. He stared down his squad, now overflowing with raw power. Storms of purple and blue energy raged around them. The colossal silhouettes of He Kui and Yu Ye loomed over him, looking absolutely jacked compared to before, just waiting for the boss's next order. But as Fang watched them, his gaze lowered, and a practical thought killed the vibe. He muttered that the only downside was figuring out when he'd snag some new land, because there was no way he was trashing his fields back home, just to run experiments on new crops. Cut to a bit later, he steps out, trading the battle aura for a casual fit and a backpack ready to roll. Fang strolled through the exit, hands buried deep in his pockets, keeping it low-key. But just as the door clicked shut, that pink-haired girl materialized out of nowhere, flagging him down about the demon bear gall. Fang barely pivoted, flashing a faint, easy smirk, and told her the loot was all hers. The girl's eyes nearly popped out of her head. She clutched the small package to her chest like it was a lifeline, screaming that this drop was worth a fortune. Fang just hit her with a deadpan stare, looking totally over it. Eyes half-lidded, he muttered that there was no point treating such trash-tier materials like treasure. Dropping that truth bomb, he walked away. The girl stood there paralyzed. She echoed his words, brain rebooting. Trash. Did she hear that right? Meanwhile, Fang ghosted the rest area, heading deep into the timberlands where the canopy completely blocked out the sky. He was way out in the sticks now. Scanning left and right, he figured the coast was clear. Once he confirmed, 0 witnesses were around. Fang triggered his skill, violet energy swirling around his palms. He was curious what kind of buff this new ability would give his crops. The purple haze drifted toward 2 nearby plants, enveloping them. The moment the power connected, the vegetation reacted instantly, mutating in a way that defied logic. Fang watched the plants with a puzzled look, noting that they looked identical to the ones back on his farm. But suddenly, his eyes snapped wide, as he sensed a shift. In a split second, the flora exploded into a massive transformation. A nightmare flower erupted upward, jagged teeth and vines towering over him as purple sparks chaotically lit up the forest. Fang's face was painted with shock as he stared at the monstrosity, questioning if these crops were actually sentient. His eyes were glued to the scene, unable to process that these plants could move on their own accord. Meanwhile, elsewhere in the woods, a silhouette blitzed across the treetops with insane agility. The spirit radar in his grip pulsed with light, and he bellowed that the signal was spiking. It was Toka, sticking the landing on a high branch. He double-checked the scanner, confirming his hunch. There was definitely a necromancer's aura, hiding somewhere in this zone. Seconds later, Toka hit the forest floor. The moment he stepped forward, he spotted Fang hiking past with a backpack. Toka slammed on the brakes and spun around, locking eyes on him. He reached out, gripping Fang's shoulder to halt him. Giving him the side-eye, he grilled Fang on whether he was a farmer, since his outfit screamed manual labor. Fang leaned in close, clapping back, asking if a farmer had hurt his feelings or something. Toka's face twisted into pure disgust, brows furrowing as he sized Fang up. Then he raised his voice, barking at the farmer, demanding to know if a weirdo had passed by recently. Fang tapped his chin dramatically, and admitted that, yeah, he actually had seen someone. Toka leaned in, hungry for the info, asking where the target was. Fang casually lifted a hand, pointing a finger right at Toka's nose, saying the weirdo was standing right there. Toka froze, processing the roast before his face turned tomato red. Flames erupted behind him as he roared, asking how dare this guy disrespect him. He started flexing his status, an elite from Sunwheel Academy, and the nephew of the Iron Lion Duke. His fury went critical. He screamed that a peasant farmer had the nerve to mock nobility. Fire engulfed his arm as he wound up a massive punch, swearing he'd end Fang right there. Toka morphed into a wolfman hybrid, violent green energy swirling around him. He howled that this low-level nobody would pay for running his mouth. The green aura surged like a storm, sending rocks and debris flying. Fang got knocked back by the shockwave. He crossed his arms defensively, digging his heels into the dirt. Stones shattered and dust clouds burst around him, but he stood his ground. His expression was ice cold, eyes sharp. He stated that the farmer Toka was looking down on, could wreck him with one hand tied behind his back. Toka laughed, maniacally lunging forward with that radioactive green energy spiraling around his frame. Claws raised high, he charged straight for Fang, screaming for him to eat this attack. But Fang didn't flinch, noticing a glitch in the matrix. He thought that even he wasn't sure why. But the aconite from his field had evolved. After getting corrupted by undead magic, it unlocked a paralysis debuff. He noted that the last time he beta tested it, he was lagged out and stuck in bed for 24 hours, grinding that aconite into dust, turned it into a heavy-duty tranquilizer. Toka's face warped as he inhaled the trap. Dark particles and green smog clung to his fur. A heartbeat later, his vision swam, cartoon stars circling his head. His balance totally failed, and vertigo hit him like a truck. He looked down at his own limbs in panic, demanding to know what kind of hack this was. Screaming in rage as his power bar hit zero, Fang just stood there in the forest, completely unbothered. He casually brings his fingers to his nose, sniffing with total indifference as he strides forward. Just some garden-variety aconite powder, he remarks, like he's talking about the weather. Suddenly, his posture shifts. He leans in, emerald energy coiling around his arm like a serpent, his gaze turning razor-sharp instantly. "This is just farmer strength," he quips. A split second later, streaks of green power explode outward. The attack blitzes the beast, slamming home and folding it before the creature can even twitch. Smash, cut to the aftermath. The so-called elite Toka is dangling helplessly from a tree branch, trussed up like a sad piñata with his hands bound high. His shirt is gone, leaving him shivering in his shorts. The guy looks absolutely cooked, muscles, limp eyes, totally glazed over. Fang stands nearby, delivering the final verbal roast. "You let a farmer clap you. Bold of you to still call yourself an elite." Turning his back on the loser, Fang throws a wave over his shoulder. "Enjoy the breeze up there, buddy." He adds that Toka should take this humiliation as a free lesson when someone finally cuts him down. Suddenly, a loudspeaker booms across the forest. All candidates report to the auditorium for instructor interviews immediately. Fang freezes mid-step, realizing the main event is starting. "Crap, got a jet," he mutters. The scene transitions sharply to the exterior of the extraordinary academy. A sea of candidates is buzzing with gossip, but silence ripples through them as Fang struts in cool as ice. The whisper network goes wild. "Yo, isn't that the guy who soloed the level 5 dungeon?" someone gasps. A hater immediately shoots it down. "Please. Heard he just ran away and leeched off the girls like a simp." Fang doesn't even blink. He ghosts the haters walking toward the auditorium, with zero cares given. Deep in the crowd, someone throws shade. "He's trash compared to heavy hitters like Shiyan and Bogu." Another chimes in, "Yeah, he might bully normies, but against us, level 5 elites, he's got no shot." Suddenly, a girl with pink hair steps into his path, handing over an item. "Here," she says, "this belongs to you." Fang scratches the back of his head, flashing a lazy smirk. He leans in, whispering, "Keep it. Honestly, that stuff is useless junk to me." Moments later, Fang is weaving through the crowd, snacking away. A HUD pops up above his head. Stamina +2. Stamina +2. He looks genuinely baffled. "I seriously don't get why these noobs treat this garbage like it's legendary loot," he thinks. Inside the auditorium, the stage is set. This is the interview zone. A row of instructors sits behind a massive desk, their eyes scanning the room like hawks. A voice lays down the law. "This isn't just an audition. The instructors pick you, but you also get to pick them." They say masters and students sharpen each other like steel on steel. The instructor didn't waste time. He stepped up to start the draft. He announced the roll call, demanding students step up when named. First on the chopping block, Xian. The guy rises from the crowd, ready to flex. He drops his stats immediately. "I'm Xian, level 6, Earth-type warrior." But talk is cheap. He decides to show, not tell. "This is what I bring to the table." Boom. Massive battle armor materializes around him, pulsating with heavy energy. One of the instructors leans in, eyes locking on the display. "Not bad, kid." He reveals his own rank, level 44 Earth Berserker. Then comes the recruitment pitch. "How about I take you under my wing?" Xian doesn't even hesitate. "It would be an honor," he shoots back. Deal sealed. The instructor moves on, calling Ying Wu next. Then, the moment everyone's been waiting for. The instructor scans the list and drops the name Lin Feng. Lin Feng stands up. Zero nerves. He glides past the other candidates with a chill vibe that screams main character energy. He takes center stage and drops his intro. Name's Lin Feng, level 8, Spirit Farm Master. As the words leave his mouth, an emerald aura surges up, wrapping him in a serene, glowing silence. The two female instructors are glued to the scene. The pink-haired instructor raises an eyebrow. Level 8 at his age, that is seriously cracked. Her colleague leans over, whispering a reality check. "Look closer." At the end of the day, he's still just a farmer. Across the table, another teacher kicks back, looking bored. We run the extraordinary academy here, he says, voice dripping with skepticism. We forge frontline slayers, not NPCs meant to be cannon fodder. But then he pauses, forced to admit the facts. Though, I can't deny he crushed both the prelims and the second test. The head examiner adjusts his monocle, scanning the room. He clears his throat. Since the jury is split on this kid, there's only one way to settle it. Run a combat ability assessment. The table goes quiet, then the instructors start nodding, one by one. Long-haired guy crosses his arms. Approved. Pink hair flashes a grin. Works for me. The chill instructor shrugs. Why not? Let's see what he's actually got. Fang steps up as the examiner calls him out. Verdant energy swirls at his feet while the question hangs in the air. You down for a spar? Listen, our goal is training warriors who can face tank demons on the front lines. If you have zero combat ability, you're gonna have a bad time. Fang tilts his head, processing. Inner monologue time. My raw combat stats aren't exactly god tier yet. I need to clap back without leaking my secret Necromancer class. He looks up, a subtle smirk playing on his lips. I'm in. Cut to a makeshift arena, cleared out in the dead center of the auditorium. The crowd gathers on the perimeter, buzzing with hype. Fang takes his corner, looking way too calm. Opposite him, a towering instructor with a savage grin. He breaks down the rules. Simple game, kid. Survive my heat for 5 minutes. Do that, and you prove you belong in the combat course. Match starts. Boom. Golden aura explodes from the instructor's body like a supernova. The shockwave ripples through the arena, distorting the air. Waves of pure pressure blast out in every direction. Students in the splash zone buckle knees, hitting the floor. Some are shaking, fighting just to stay upright. One guy gasps. Can't breathe. That's the pressure of someone over level 40. Another student looks like he's about to pass out, but then they look at the ring. Fang is crouching there, totally unbothered. His posture is rock solid, face blank. Someone whispers, Yo, Fang looks completely fine. The instructor beams with pride, impressed. Not flinching. You've got my respect already. He widens his stance, energy flaring. Now don't hold back. Show me your full power. Fang digs his heels in, bracing against the golden tide. He thinks that level 44 pressure is heavy, but I can tank this for now. A glowing green orb coalesces in his palm. Vines of nature mana spiral around him. He thrusts a hand forward. Come forth, my servants. Emerald light erupts upwards. Then the big brain play hits him. If I cloak the undead in nature mana, I can mask their death aura. The summons rise. Completely wrapped in neon green vines and leaves, their true forms glitch-free and hidden. Fang stands next to the glowing figure. It's a hulking beast that looks exactly like a cabbage-shaped bear, swirling with life energy. He stares at it, thinking, nobody is ever going to clock this veggie bear as an undead summon. The creature steps up, draped in bright green vines, ready to brawl. Its form radiated an intense, blinding luminosity, looking like some boss-level mutant beast spawned from the far side of the arena. The instructor narrowed his eyes, clearly caught off guard. He noted that this density of nature magic screamed rare hidden class. A cocky grin stretched across his face as he hoisted his curved blades, arcs of lightning-like energy crackling dangerously around the steel. He taunted Fang, calling the situation intriguing, and daring the kid to bring the heat. That green cabbage bear lunged, draped in a shroud of vibrant nature energy, while the instructor sprinted to meet it head-on, with scorching yellow flames spiraling around his weapons. The two slammed together in the courtyard, their conflicting auras flooding the arena. Neon green and searing yellow streaked through the air upon impact. The instructor unleashed a massive swing, putting his whole back into it. But the glowing beast tanked the hit with raw nature power. A split second later, the instructor was launched skyward. His expression contorted with a roar as he dive-bombed straight back at the cabbage bear, erupting in a shower of yellow sparks against the green hide, as he rained down blow after blow. But despite the heavy punishment, the glowing beast stood its ground unyielding, frame shuddering from the impacts. A bystander instructor watched in disbelief, remarking that any standard summon would have dissipated ages ago, yet this thing persisted. Suddenly, the green beast bellowed and surged forward, plowing through the onslaught. Yellow and green energies ground against each other as it barreled straight for the instructor, refusing to drop no matter the damage. The watching instructor broke into a cold sweat, eyes glued to the chaotic battlefield. He wondered aloud if old G was gassing out. Meanwhile, Fang stood there, cool as a cucumber, knowing his undead summons felt zero pain, and never complained. He figured a little magic would patch up those scratches in a heartbeat. Old G wiped his brow, eyeing Fang. He had to admit he originally planned to flex on the students today. But this kid was the real deal. It was time to stop playing around and get serious. Locking eyes with Fang, old G promised he'd cover the cost for the wrecked summon, and told him to pay close attention. He explained that standard summoners pay a steep price for their contracts. If a summon gets destroyed, it vanishes and the bond breaks. Suddenly, he triggered a high-tier skill and golden energy detonated around him. as the text Berserk Skill Bloodthirst hovered in the air. He launched himself forward with crushing momentum and smashed into Lin Feng's green summon. The impact obliterated the creature, spraying shards of green energy across the arena, while the instructor stood center stage in the aftermath, gripping his curved blade tight. When the dust settled, he crossed his arms, basking in the golden flames, enveloping his frame, radiating absolute confidence. Clearly pleased with his handiwork, he shot Lin Feng a mocking smirk. He bet losing a summon stung like hell, and told Lin Feng not to hold back the tears. He claimed he loved students who wore their hearts on their sleeves. But Lin Feng's face remained a blank slate as green energy began to pool around him, showing zero sadness. The instructor stared baffled. Why wasn't the kid freaking out? He wondered if the shock had just short-circuited the boy's emotions. Suddenly, verdant energy erupted from Lin Feng, slithering across the floor like twisted shadows before shooting upward. Constricting around the instructor, the vines tightened, hoisting him off his feet as he yelped in surprise. He hollered, demanding to know how many summons this kid packed, and accusing him of playing dirty. The air grew heavy. Boom, golden energy surged, shattering the green bindings around the instructor, and the recoil sent him stumbling back. He shouted in panic as the green energy whipped violently through the air. Before it could escalate, the examiner stepped in, raising a hand and commanding a hard stop. The instructor eased up, while Lin Feng stood aside, a ghostly blue figure fading into the ether next to him. The examiner turned to Lin Feng, face unreadable. The kid had proven his worth, and was officially qualified to join the Extraordinary Academy. However, he continued, explaining that every single nature-type instructor was deployed to the front lines. So for now, there was no mentor available for him. Lin Feng just stared back, faint green wisps still dancing around him. He cut to the chase. What about my cultivation resources? The examiner replied instantly. He stated the academy would never stiff a student on their supplies, and that Lin Feng would get his full allocation by the book. Adjusting his monocle, the man added that since Lin Feng was clearly a cut above the rest, the prize for crushing this exam, one simple wish from the academy. Lin Feng's vibe instantly flipped as he processed the offer. A greedy glint sparked in his eyes. He muttered to himself that total freedom plus unlimited resources, that was basically heaven on earth. Switch flipped. He turned on the charm, beaming at the examiner with an innocent $1,000,000 smile, and dropped the bomb. I want a plot of land. The examiner froze solid. He just stared at Lin Feng, totally bewildered. You could practically see giant blue question marks popping up around his head. Completely shook, he asked if Lin Feng was serious. No rare loot, no god-tier gear, no legendary items, just dirt. Lin Feng scratched the back of his head, grinning like he didn't have a care in the world. I'm a spirit farm master, he explained. Can't exactly be a master without a farm, right? Keeping that sunny vibe, he looked at the director. Makes sense, yeah. The director let out a defeated sigh, jamming his hands into his pockets. He mentioned a desolate training wasteland on the city's west side place. Hasn't been touched in ages. Do whatever you want with it, he told Lin Feng. Then he added that if the kid needed anything else later, just come find him. Lin Feng, backpack slung over one shoulder, gave a respectful little bow. Thanks, director. The director waved him off to go chill in the back and shouted for the next student. Cut to a heavy wooden door marked principal's office. Inside, a dossier snapped open, revealing Lin Feng's mugshot and stats. The principal sat behind his desk, scanning the paperwork. He glanced up, eyes narrowing. Spirit farm master. Now, that's a twist. Suddenly, a pink-haired woman burst into the room. Principal, urgent report. The principal looked up. Speak. She slammed a document on the desk. The intel was bad, Toka. One of their top scouts tracking Heishao had been slaughtered. A necromancer did it. She dropped the bombshell. The body was found right near the auditorium, which means a necromancer has likely already infiltrated the academy. Meanwhile, over at the desolate west side training grounds, Lin Feng strolled down a silent forest path, navigating with an old-school paper map. He muttered coordinates under his breath, then grinned. Bingo. Found it. Green flames suddenly erupted from his hand, burning the deed to activate it. A hologram popped up. Access granted 100 mu of training grounds in West Fengtian City, authorized by the Extraordinary Academy. Another ping followed, temporary lease activated. Duration, 1 year. A repulsion barrier shimmered into existence. No entry allowed except for student Lin Feng. Lin Feng picked his ear, looking totally unimpressed. 1 year, seriously, talk about stingy. Then he shrugged, realizing most students get shipped off to the front lines after a year anyway. Guess the limit makes sense. Hype mode engaged. Lin Feng threw his arms up, purple energy swirling around him like a storm. A whole 100 mu of land. Mine for at least a year, he grinned like a maniac. Now this is finally worthy of a spirit farm master. Boom. A massive pillar of purple light exploded around him. Standing in the center of the glowing array, he pointed skyward, letting his mana wash over the wasteland. The purple mist thickened, and then summon after summon started materializing. Massive shadow titans, glowing armored warriors, and tiny floating sprites. They circled up, lighting up the sky with raw power. Lin Feng surveyed his army with a fierce, confident smirk and snapped his hand forward. He pointed to the horizon. Everything's set. Let's get to work. A shadow spirit unleashed a violent shockwave of purple energy. The ground trembled, sending debris flying everywhere as the beast slammed down with immense force. Nearby, a water elemental levitated into the air, surfing on crashing waves as it surged forward, manipulating the hydrocurrents. Down on the field, a massive, fluffy horned beast bulldozed across the soil. It glowed with kinetic energy, leading a squad of tiny sprites hauling farming tools. Cut to Lin Feng, living his best life. He was kicked back in a lounge chair under the sun, sunglasses on, munching on a slice of watermelon. Magic really does change everything, he smirked. The ancients weren't kidding. He chilled in the shade, sipping a drink through a straw. Suddenly, a little blue spirit tapped him on the shoulder. Still totally zen, he asked. Done already. That got his attention. He whipped around watermelon, still in hand, looking genuinely surprised. Lin Feng threw a glance over his shoulder at his squad. They were way more proactive than he predicted. Suddenly, a raspy chuckle broke the silence from one of the ghouls. A jagged, glowing grin stretched across its face, straight-up nightmare fuel. Lin Feng turned to the ice-armored undead beside him and let out a heavy, helpless sigh. Maybe hoping for actual sentience from these brain-dead minions was pushing his luck a little too far. Meal done, Lin Feng headed for the exit, but behind him the ice-armored undead didn't move. Its glowing eyes just tracked him, silent and intense. Its face was a stone-cold mask until a faint, sinister smirk cracked the surface, chilling blue energy flickering softly around its frame. Lin Feng cruised down the narrow path lining the greenhouses. A soft aura wrapped around him. As he pressed a palm to the glass, scanning the loot inside, an aerial view revealed neat rows of soil beds packed with potential. Inside, soft blue light bathed the scene. Lin Feng stood amidst the greenery, admiring the glow filtering through the glass ceiling. It was a botanical jackpot, budding yellow lotuses and purple cabbages popping with color everywhere he looked. Holographic stats hovered over them like game UI. Permanent stamina +1, temporary speed +1, permanent attack +1, status not yet mature. Lin Feng scanned the field with a satisfied smirk. While other hunters were out there grinding, breaking their backs for a tiny power-up, he was leveling up just by munching on salad. Balanced diet, solid gains. He stood in the center of his domain, glancing back at the glowing harvest behind him. It was kind of a shame that only his crops had these buffs. If he could mass-produce this stuff and get everyone hooked on these power plants, humanity would turn those terrifying demons into absolute jokes. Shovel in hand, he strolled through the sun-drenched glass corridor. Sunlight sliced through the walls. As he paused, strategizing. Reality check. He couldn't just grow the magic stuff. He needed a cover. Regular crops on the outside to camouflage the OP loot inside, or he'd be exposed in a heartbeat. He gripped the shovel tighter. Grind time. 24 hours later, the scene shifted back to the greenhouse. Under a crisp blue sky, the soil was packed with round, earthy potatoes, and Lin Feng was ready to extract them. Lin Feng stood by the field, shovel ready. He faced his shadow platoon and ran a quick tutorial. Dig like this. Watch the form. The shadowy helpers mimicked him instantly, shovels flying in a perfect rapid-fire rhythm. Lin Feng grinned. This free labor had skyrocketed his farming efficiency. But suddenly, Lin Feng yelled, "Yo, what are you doing?" One of the shadow minions wasn't digging, it was chowing down on a raw potato. Lin Feng leaned in, totally baffled. The undead creature froze, caught red-handed, with the half-eaten spud staring back at its master. Ping A system window popped up beside it. Undead lizard level 6. Buffs applied, temporary bone density up, defense up. Lin Feng stared at the notification, dead silent. He looked down, mind racing. These were just standard dungeon lizards, until this one ate the crop. A light bulb went off. He rubbed his chin, thinking hard. If the crops buffed him, could they also supercharge his undead army? Over the next few days, Lin Feng went full scientist, running tests and logging every stat change on his minions. But he was too focused to notice the red eyes burning in the dark. A shadowy stalker lurked by the perimeter, gazing at the sheds. Under the moonlight, he muttered, "This place, it's changed. New buildings, weird layout." He crouched low, squinting. Those definitely weren't there last time. His face hardened into a cruel smirk. He unsheathed a jagged blade. Flimsy walls. One slash and the whole thing crumbles. He paused, scanning the interior. Just one guy inside. Feels like bait. He called it interesting. Inside, Lin Feng chilled in a hammock, completely oblivious to the assassin creeping through the shadows. The intruder moved across the rooftop like a ghost until crack. The ground beneath him gave way. A massive impact rocked the roof edge, forcing him to bail out. He landed and sprinted, but explosions of force slammed into the concrete, sending debris flying. The assassin dropped low, bracing himself as the roof shattered. A split second later, something burst from the rubble. A round, red-stalked plant monster rose up, pulsating with unstable energy as it tore through the stone. The intruder looked up just in time to see it go boom. Debris and hellfire exploded outward as the beast launched a lethal strike, forcing him to juke sideways. As the shockwave shredded the rooftop, the blue-haired intruder narrowed his eyes, a cocky smirk plastering his face. He radiated pure arrogance. He trash-talked their defense grid, claiming this weak security could never hold him back before launching himself straight into the fray. His boot smashed through the spherical monsters, blocking his path, shattering them instantly. Crimson fluid sprayed everywhere upon impact. More of the beasts popped like balloons under his assault. But then the vibe shifted. Cold sweat suddenly beaded on his forehead. Sensing a trap, his teeth clenched in panic as he let out a frustrated roar. A catastrophic chain reaction detonated right under his feet. Blinding yellow flames erupted, flinging debris and red gore through the scorching air. The inferno swallowed the entire zone. But as the blast wave settled, an eerie green luminescence began rising from the abyss below. A radiant tree-like entity materialized, its twisted branches pulsing like veins of pure light. The emerald glow flooded the battlefield. Torrents of raw energy swirled around the core. In a split second, the figure began morphing, shifting its very form. Branches wove together, sculpting the silhouette of a woman crafted from green light, her hair cascading down like living, breathing vines. She flowed in sync with the surging power. Meanwhile, the man burst through the smokescreen, muttering a curse under his breath. He yelled in pure aggravation, claiming the only reason he returned was to secure the Grand Duke's trust, otherwise he wouldn't have bothered. Dropping into a combat stance, he blitzed through the dense dust cloud, his face contorted in rage as he raised his blade high. Blood smeared his cheek, but his grip only tightened. He snarled, promising that once he diced this creature into cubes, he wanted to see if it still had the guts to explode. He brought the weapon down with crushing force, his body radiating energy. A trail of azure energy followed his strike, as vines and detonations erupted from the earth beneath him. Suddenly, his confidence shattered. He stared dead ahead, eyes wide with shock as he spotted an anomaly. He picked up the distinct stench of an undead aura on the monsters. Confusion and alarm washed over him, while purple light flickered at his side. Flashback hit him. The Elder's orders for this scouting mission to Fang City were specific. Locate the Necromancer Hishao. Hishao had ghosted them immediately after their last contact, despite having a sealed deal with the clan. But sensing that undead energy here, it clicked. This wasn't random. This location was actually Hishao's secret hideout. His mind raced with questions. Why was Hishao lurking here? Had the Necromancer betrayed the clan? Knife in hand, he pressed forward through the drifting purple mist, grumbling about how Hishao had absolutely zero shame regarding his immortality arts. Glancing up at the moonlit sky, he made a tactical decision. Staying here was a bad move. Tracking down Hishao was the priority, so he leaped away, abandoning the scene. Cut to the next day, Lin Feng stepped out of his building. Ho slung over his shoulder, he wiped his face, boasting that he'd already cultivated and fertilized the majority of the plots yesterday. He figured he only had a little cleanup left. But the moment his eyes landed on his field, his face dropped. Cold sweat dripped down his temple as he stared into the distance, paralyzed by shock. He sprinted toward the disaster, a totally collapsed greenhouse. Debris and shattered earth lay everywhere. Standing at the epicenter of the destruction, he gazed hopelessly at the ruins. He screamed in total disbelief. His greenhouse was toast, but just as he was mourning his crops, a massive shadow swept across the bright sky. A pitch-black dragon sliced through the sunlight above. Lin Feng snapped his head up from the wreckage. His expression hardened as he tracked the aerial threat. A low sound of confusion escaped his lips. Seconds later, the beast touched down, revealing two figures perched on its back. One was a towering guy with long flowing black hair. The other stood next to him, radiating calm authority. The dragon's crimson eyes glowed menacingly as it hovered just above the turf. Lin Feng stepped up, staring at them like they were aliens. He asked aloud why the heck law enforcement was showing up here. The two officers stood shoulder to shoulder, red energy swirling around them. The guy holding the folder checked his scanner. He confirmed the magic detector pinpointed the aura's source exactly at this spot. The tall officer listened intently. His face was grim as his partner wondered how a former training wasteland had transformed into, well, this. Could a demon be hiding out here? A small drone floated nearby, flashing a notification that the land was currently leased. The bespectacled officer read the data, noting that even though a tenant had rented the plot, they couldn't rule out demonic activity. He warned his partner to stay sharp. The duo stood just outside the energy barrier. One of them raised a hand to signal. He called out to Lin Feng, announcing they were from the law enforcement team. Safe inside the barrier, Lin Feng just looked baffled, wondering what was going on. Why is the enforcer squad swarming the place? The Four Eyes officer steps up, scanning the perimeter with his tracker. He breaks the silence. Their gear picked up a massive mana spike right here. He orders Lin Feng to drop the barrier so they can sweep the area. The squad waits the energy shield humming ominously between them. The towering officer finally speaks voice low. They're flying blind on the details. Lin Feng stares them down through the shimmer, asking how there could be magic residue on a plot he only rented a few days ago. Meanwhile, outside the dome, one cop is losing his cool, whining that getting a simple farmer to drop a shield is taking forever. The tall officer cuts in Toka just got zeroed by demons, and now that same dark energy is pulsing right here. Flames erupt behind him as he stalks forward, his eyes glowing a menacing crimson. He glares at the barrier and drops the verdict in his book. The guy hiding inside is 100% a demon spy. Behind the shield, Lin Feng stays dead silent, a single bead of sweat tracing his cheek as he gauges the threat. Outside, Haru screams at Lin Feng, demanding he surrender immediately. Lin Feng just looks up his face, an unreadable mask. The other officers hang back reading the room. One mutters that Haru is way too trigger-happy. The other notes that the timing is suspicious since Toka just died. And now demonic energy is leaking here. It makes Lin Feng look guilty as sin. He steps up, putting the pressure directly on Lin Feng. He tells the kid to stop stalling and drop the wall. Lin Feng glances sideways, mind racing. He needs to finesse this situation before it gets ugly. He decides to flip the script and play the innocent victim. He drops his voice whining that he's just a nobody, with a lowly job that no one respects. He claims he just wanted a quiet spot to grind his cultivation levels, but now the cops are trying to frame him. One of the grunts next to Captain Haru buys the act. He nudges the captain, whispering that the kid looks genuinely pathetic. That triggers Haru hard. He snaps, screaming that anyone can fake a sob story. Fist-clenched veins popping, the captain suddenly lunges, launching a haymaker straight at Lin Feng. Boom. The punch connects, sending a shockwave rippling through the air. But Lin Feng barely flinches, catching Captain Haru's wrist. Cold sweat instantly beads on his forehead. He realizes he messed up big time. His defense is so buffed that the captain's full power strike didn't even scratch him. Lin Feng narrows his eyes. He has to sell the injury or his cover is blown. He throws himself to the dirt, clutching his chest like he's dying. The captain stares completely stunned. Haru knows he put enough juice in that hit to kill, so he can't process how Lin Feng is still breathing, suspicion level rising. Lin Feng looks up with puppy dog eyes, wailing that they're trying to beat a false confession out of him just to close the case. Before Haru can finish the job, another officer intercepts. He tells Haru to chill out and actually use his eyes. He points out the obvious: the kid is radiating nature magic. Demons are allergic to nature energy. Even a rookie knows that. The glasses-wearing officer helps Lin Feng up, apologizing for the misunderstanding. He confirms that Lin Feng's nature mana is incredibly pure and promises to clear his name in the official report. Lin Feng stands hitting him with the "You're a true hero, officer" line, playing the gratitude card perfectly. The officer brushes it off as duty. Haru is seething, teeth grinding. Suddenly his aura flares up again. Lightning crackles around him as he raises his hand for round 2, ready to blast Lin Feng. But the other two officials flash in front of Lin Feng, instantly walling off the attack and shutting the captain down cold. Haru stands there fuming but silenced. The squad mounts their dragons and takes off. Lin Feng watches them fade into the distance. His expression darkens. This is a hassle. He realizes just farming won't cut it. He needs enough raw power to protect himself next time. Suddenly, golden light shimmers in the air, and paper cranes drift down like magic drones. One hovers right in his face, projecting a voice. It's a mandatory order report to the Academy training grounds. Tomorrow morning for the freshman ability test and ranking wars. Attendance is non-negotiable. Message delivered, the cranes vanish. Lin Feng stares at the empty space, letting out a heavy sigh. Why is a peaceful life so hard to unlock? Not far away, two figures lurk in the shade, watching him. One whispers that the kid's nature magic is insanely pure. The woman asks if he's really just a peasant. The man beside her, the Extraordinary Academy's principal, admits he isn't sure. The system lists the boy as a spirit farm master, but the principal narrows his eyes. He knows there's more to the story. Even the legendary level 50 nature archmage Vela has to admit she is intrigued. She notes it smells like a mutated class, but her gut tells her this kid is sitting on a much bigger secret. But one thing is for sure, that burst of nature magic is the ultimate alibi. No way is he working with the demon realm. Demons recoil at that kind of pure life energy. They couldn't fake it if they tried. The principal nods. This should shut the critics up for a minute. He grins, adding that the real show is just getting started. Suddenly, emerald energy swells up and wraps around them. In a blink, they teleport out. Cut to the Extraordinary Academy freshman training grounds. The place is packed with new blood. Freshmen look dazed, whining that they already finished the interview grind. They've already picked their mentors, so why is there another pop quiz? The confusion is real. Most thought they'd be hitting the books by now. One guy leans in whispering like he has got the scoop of the century. But then he just laughs and gatekeeps the info. Meanwhile, Lin Feng is chilling on the sidelines, completely tuning out the noise. Stone-faced eyes forward, just waiting for the other shoe to drop. Suddenly, the pink-haired instructor takes center stage. She commands the room to shut up. She knows their heads are spinning with questions. She breaks down why there is a sudden academy-wide exam. Yesterday, a code red came in from the front lines. The demon offensive just leveled up and the fortress beyond the third barrier, it is hanging by a thread. She drops the bomb. Orders came from the top to deploy fresh troops immediately. The crowd goes dead, silent, then explodes. We literally just got here, someone screams. Why are you sending rookies to the meat grinder? We're supposed to be studying and cultivating. The instructor's gaze turns icy. When the nest falls, every egg breaks. If that fortress crumbles, the Demon Legion marches straight for Feng Chuan City. She scans the crowd. You think you can sit here and cultivate in peace while that happens? This isn't a request, it is a draft. Nobody gets a pass. In the sea of panicked faces, a pink-haired girl stands next to a young boy. The kid looks up, mumbling sis, but the words get stuck in his throat. Not far off, Lin Feng is just existing. Pack on his shoulder, expression blank. He is completely unbothered by the chaos erupting around him. The pink-haired girl comforts the boy, telling him to breathe. Then her eyes dart toward Lin Feng. Her cheeks flush a soft pink. He is amazing, she whispers, wondering if he will get dragged into this mess. Suddenly, the instructor's voice booms. Everyone into the arena. Live, combat drill, move. As the herd shuffles forward, Lin Feng strolls with hands in his pockets. He figures, hey, he is just a farmer class. No way they send a glorified gardener to the front lines, right? He just wants to stick to his harvest schedule. It is showtime. Lin Feng steps up, staring down a female student clutching a magic staff. She sneers. A spirit farm master heard you're just good at running away. She raises her weapon. Burn to ash, she screams, launching an attack. A torrent of fire erupts, screaming toward him. The inferno roars forward, but Lin Feng just sidesteps. Casual. The fire hits absolutely nothing. He watches the flames fizzle, looking bored. Too slow, he deadpans. Your magic is sloppy and weak. You couldn't even roast a sweet potato with that pathetic spark. That triggered her. Veins popping, she starts chanting some high-level incantation about a flame spirit at the world's end. She raises the staff high. I command you. Lin Feng watches for a split second, gets bored, and decides he is done waiting. He blurs into motion. Emerald light flares around his fist. Way too much casting time, he mutters, closing the gap instantly. Bam, the punch connects. She screams as she gets launched backwards, skidding across the dirt. Nature energy ripples through the arena. As the dust settles, the referee calls it. Winner, Lin Feng. And it doesn't stop there. He steamrolls the next opponent, and the next. Every match is a total washout. Lin Feng scratches his head, looking almost annoyed by his own winning streak. Okay, I've made my point, he thinks. Better throw the next few rounds so I don't look too suspicious. Just then, the dark-haired woman approaches, handing him a water bottle. He glances up with a polite nod. She smiles, eyes glinting. With talent like that, you are aiming way too low, kid. Center stage. Lin Feng blinks, looking totally thrown. Higher stage. What does that even mean? She breaks it down, grind enough credits, and crush the assessments, and he gets a ticket to the elite Sunwheel Academy. She's not done selling it either. She hypes up the perks god-tier cultivation manuals, instructors who are absolute monsters, and chances to snag legendary loot or beast mounts that could level a city. Lin Feng soaks it in silence, hanging in the air. Finally, he nods. Cool offer, but I'll pass. Flashbacks of that law enforcement mess hit him. He doesn't need that kind of drama. The woman's jaw practically hits the floor. Then what do you want? She demands. Lin Feng cracks a lazy smile. Simple. I just want a bigger and better plot of dirt so I can farm in peace. She stares at him like he grew a second head. You're missing the point. She clarifies, asking for his endgame. What's the plan after the harvest? Lin Feng doesn't hesitate. More land, he says deadpan. Enough so. Everyone who wants to get their hands dirty has a field of their own. A smirk plays on the woman's lips. She interprets farming as conquest, reclaiming every inch of territory. Ambitious kid, she thinks. Suddenly, the principal strolls up, cutting in. Aren't you already terraforming the western wasteland? Is that not enough real estate for you? Lin Feng busts out laughing, scratching his head sheepishly. Hey, when it comes to farming, the more the merrier. Boom! The speakers crackle with a new announcement. Next match, Lin Feng versus Ai Ling. Lin Feng throws up a casual wave. Welp, showtime, he grins, strutting toward the arena. Watching him go, the principal muses, kid straightforward, I'll give him that. The raven-haired woman beside him. She's cool as ice. If he wants it, give it to him. The principal shoots her a look. You planning to mentor him or something? She watches Lin Feng's retreating silhouette. He's fascinating, she murmurs. Fighters ready, the announcer bellows. Ai Ling, rocking her signature pink hair, faces him down. Never thought I'd get matched with you. Her knuckles turn white, gripping her weapon. I'm not holding back. Lin Feng just hits her with that chill trademark smirk. Look, I can't beat you, he shrugs. I was actually gonna tap out. Ai Ling isn't buying it. She launches herself at him. Screaming, are you mocking me? Lin Feng sighs, unbothered. Straight to phase 2. A bit overkill, don't you think? Is that really your opening move? Then he flicks his wrist. Whoosh. Green energy ripples out. Vines explode from the ground, coiling around Ailing like giant pythons, locking her down. But Ailing is fierce. She snaps a kick like a guillotine slicing through the plant prison. Up in the stands, the raven-haired woman loses her composure. A sub-level 10, with mana that pure, that's impossible. Tell me about it, the principal nods. Blew my mind the first time I saw it too. She regains her cool. Even a level 80 Nature Path Master doesn't have this kind of clarity. This kid's ceiling, it doesn't exist. Back in the arena, Ailing unleashes a nuke of an attack, but Lin Feng doesn't flinch. A massive wall of vines absorbs the blow. The VIPs nod in unison. Talent like this is a unicorn. Put him under the right master and he'll be absolutely terrifying. Silence. Then, the woman's eyes narrow. I've made up my mind. I'm taking him as my teacher. The principal nods absently. Yeah, you'd make a great instructor for weight. He freezes. Hold up. You got that backwards. She looks him dead in the eye. Did I stutter? I want him to teach me. The principal looks at her like she's possessed. Did a demon fry your brain? She smiles serene. Maybe, but I'm still pledging myself as his disciple. Cut to the extraordinary academy grounds. Chaos. Lin Feng and Ailing collide in a vortex of neon blue energy. They're blurring through the air, shockwaves rattling the platform. Ailing blitzes him, moving faster than the eye can track. Crack. Her weapon smashes the stone floor into dust. Lin Feng barely slips past the blast radius. Amidst the mayhem, Lin Feng is zen. Okay, showed enough off, he thinks. Time to play the scrub and tap out. Suddenly, a voice booms over the arena like thunder. Lin Feng, you sandbagged this fight, and the academy is repossessing your western farmland. Lin Feng freezes. He slowly cranks his head around. And there he is, the principal holding the mic. Lin Feng's gaze hardens instantly, a spark of electric blue lightning igniting in his iris. His internal monologue screams a hard refusal. He roars that nobody, absolutely nobody, is touching his property. That farm is his entire world. Ailing's eyes snap wide, startled by his sudden intensity. She feels the vibe shift instantly. Before this, he was just tanking hits, playing defense like a calm professional, letting her tire herself out. But the gloves are off now. Emerald energy detonates around Lin Feng as he cocks his arm back, signaling the real fight has begun. Mana condenses in his palm like a raging hurricane, intensifying by the millisecond. His stare cuts through the air, absolute laser focus. Across the stage, Ailing backpedals, erupting into flames as she charges her ultimate move. Fire snakes up her limbs, wraps around her staff, and consumes her legs, screaming with heat as she chants the incantation. She thrusts her weapon, unleashing a colossal fireball that rips through the air. The projectile screams across the battlefield, moving at breakneck speed, scorching the earth and lighting up the stadium like a second sun as it hunts Lin Feng down. Lin Feng doesn't even flinch. He sprints headlong into the inferno. His green aura slices right through the explosion. He carves a tunnel straight through the fire, the shockwave rattling the stadium and kicking up a massive dust cloud filled with debris. Bursting from the smoke, Lin Feng launches himself into the air. Green light sheathes his fist as he dives at Ailing. He bellows one warning as he throws the blow, telling her to brace for a serious punch. His fist shines with raw, verdant power. It drives toward her with force enough to level the building. Ailing's eyes bulge in pure shock. The wind pressure alone snaps her head back, and she gasps, paralyzed. Stunned by the overwhelming strength, she cries out in disbelief. Incredible power, she screams. But millimeters from her face, he halts. Lin Feng lands like a feather, flashing a dazzling smile. He looks totally chilled out, as if he didn't just break the sound barrier, softly whispering that she let him win. The audience is floored, jaws on the floor. One student screams that Lin Feng, the farmer, was totally sandbagging his true strength the whole time. Another guy looks at his own hands and sighs, realizing he is the real peasant here. High above, the mystery woman with neon green eyes watches captivated. She notes that his control over nature mana is S-tier rarity. She murmurs that he commands the elements as easily as twitching a finger mastery, touching the very roots of existence. The announcer screams the verdict as Lin Feng extends a hand to his opponent. Winner Lin Feng. The match concludes, and Ailing accepts the help up, looking a bit shaky. Blushing hard, she clings to his hand, gazing up with starry eyes. You're so strong, she swoons. She admits total defeat. Lin Feng maintains his poker face, insisting she is the strong one. He claims he just has a lot of brute strength from farming, nothing more. Moments later, he exhales, sharply sweating bullets. Internally, he's freaking out, muttering that he nearly lost his farm and that was way too close for comfort. Suddenly, the principal teleports behind him, slapping his back with a cheerful, proud laugh. Good job, kid. That's the spirit, he booms. Lin Feng offers a polite, stiff bow. He thanks the old man for showing mercy during the grading. The principal waves it off, telling him to keep grinding. He says he can't wait to see Lin Feng level up. But as the principal walks away, a wicked grin curls on Lin Feng's lips. In his head, he grumbles. You threaten my land, old geezer. Just you wait. Lin Feng stomps off the training grounds, muttering annoyed complaints. In the background, the green-eyed woman heads for a tree. Lin Feng rubs his neck deep in thought about his property. Behind him, the woman slips behind the trunk. Poof, a cloud of white mist explodes. A second later, she steps out with a completely new skin. She approaches Lin Feng, now transformed into a stunner, with flowing emerald hair and a matching green dress. Her bright eyes sparkle with intent as she blocks his path, beaming a high-wattage smile. She calls out student Lin Feng, "Please teach me your cultivation secrets." Lin Feng freezes mid-step. He rests a hand on his chin, eyes widening. He stares at her like she grew two heads. "You good?" he asks, baffled. Why a combat elite would ask a humble farmer for tutorials. "I'm Vera," she rushes to introduce herself, noting they haven't officially met. She explains she just spectated his entire brawl, her voice dripping with passion. She calls his use of nature, mana, god tier, simple, flawless, and brimming with raw vitality. She admits she has never seen anyone boss the elements around the way he does. Her gaze turns vulnerable as she drops the bomb. Vera confesses she has hit a wall in her own training. She'd been convinced for ages that stalking Lin Feng's routine was the key to unlocking her own breakthrough. When he heard that Lin Feng just stood there, scratching the back of his neck, looking totally bewildered, he eyed the green-haired girl, sizing her up. "You're a nature spec student too?" he asked. "Look, the real pros, the instructors, are currently deployed on the front lines. You should probably wait for them. Me, I just know how to dig dirt and farm." Vera clasped her hands together, deadly serious. True mastery is the only teacher. She wasn't asking for a title. "I don't expect you to take me on as a disciple," she clarified. "Just let me shadow you in the fields. Let me watch." She bowed low. Her voice cracked, bordering on desperation. "I'll do the grunt work. Even the smallest task. Just being near your aura is all the inspiration I need. Please." Lin Feng visibly flinched. Internal alarms started blaring. "I can't let anyone see what I'm actually growing in there," he thought, panic rising. "It's way too risky. One look and my secret is blown." He shifted his stance, masking his anxiety with a polite, calm mask. "Sorry," he lied smoothly. "As a farmer, I've got zero wisdom to drop. I'm just a guy with brute strength. I'm useless in a fight." He turned to leave, but suddenly the principal materialized out of thin air right next to him. The old man draped a heavy arm around Lin Feng's shoulder, leaning in close. "She's begging, kid. Just say yes. Do it for me." Lin Feng stared at the principal, eyes wide with betrayal. Then the old man leaned closer to his ear and unleashed a whisper stream of censored profanity and threats that would make a sailor blush. Lin Feng blinked slowly. "That didn't sound very friendly," Lin Feng replied, his face twisting into immediate hesitation and worry. But after letting the principal's advice sink in, Lin Feng's shoulders slumped. He let out a defeated sigh. "Fine," he muttered. "If that's how it is, it's settled." Vera's face didn't just light up, it supernovaed. Her eyes shimmered with pure joy. "Thank you, I swear I won't get in your way," she squealed, chanting his name like a prayer. She couldn't contain the hype. She launched herself at him, latching onto his arm like a koala. "Can I come tomorrow?" she stammered, breathless. "Wait, no. Can we go right now?" Lin Feng peeled her off, looking away awkwardly. "Up to you," he shrugged. "My plot is out on the west side. Cut to the West City training wastelands." Vera had already morphed into her farming gear, bouncing with energy outside his greenhouse. "Put me to work. What needs doing?" Lin Feng watched her, thinking, well, at least she's not lazy. She's actually serious about this. But I can never let her step foot inside the main greenhouse. She can't see the crops. Needing a distraction, he pointed away from the entrance. "Scout the perimeter for now. Get a feel for the land. I need to focus on some sensitive seedlings inside," he added, trying to sound professional. Vera drifted toward the glass structure. Her eyes narrowed. A strange vibe hit her, something intense. A realization struck her like lightning. These aren't normal veggies. She scanned the fields in front of her and froze. Holy, these crops have been raised on pure, unadulterated mana. These are god-tier plants. One bite could boost your stats temporarily. While she stood there paralyzed by awe, Lin Feng strolled deeper into his sanctuary, totally oblivious to the girl having a revelation behind him. Vera leaned in a knowing smirk playing on her lips as she gazed at the greenery. "You're getting more interesting by the second, Lin Feng," she whispered. 1 hour later, Lin Feng emerged to find Vera face down in the dirt outside, analyzing the earth like a crime scene investigator. Suddenly her eyes popped open. She crumbled a clod of dirt in her hand, staring at it in horror. Her face tightened. "Impossible," she breathed. Lin Feng walked up behind her. He looked down at her. "Everything okay?" Vera scrambled up, looking at him like he was an alien. "Wait," she stammered, still shook. "Did you seriously grow those monsters using just this garbage dirt?" Lin Feng nodded, casual as ever. "Yeah, it's just standard soil." Vera looked like her brain was short-circuiting. "You're telling me there's no mana crystal powder, no elemental loam mixed in?" Lin Feng let out a broke college student laugh, scratching his head. "I wish," he grinned. I thought about juicing them up, but do you know how expensive Fertilizer is? I'm broke. I can't afford that premium stuff. He gestured helplessly to a sad, shriveled plant nearby. The leaves were crispy, curled up tight under the harsh sun. He kept his cool, diagnosing the plants with a simple case of malnutrition. Vera scanned the withered crop, her emerald eyes squinting as the gears turned in her head. A silent realization echoed in her thoughts. This kid, Lin Feng's raw mana wasn't just strong. It was off the charts, totally eclipsing the average student. If he was packing that kind of power, maybe she could give him a nudge. She fixed her posture, flashing a polite professional smile. She dropped some intel on Lin Feng. The academy had a loophole. Students could trade loot dropped in dungeons for high-tier gear at the school warehouse. Lin Feng didn't hesitate. He closed the distance, gripping her shoulders with zero chill. Pure hype flooded his expression as he pressed her. Are you serious right now? Vera nodded, diving into the details. She painted the picture: Storm Academy's level 10 dungeon, the Gloom Forest. The final boss waiting at the end. The Shadowfall Kobold Chieftain had a rare drop rate for an item called the Chieftain's Fang. That specific Fang, she explained, was the ticket to scoring a bottle of Earth Pulse, a top-tier nurturing elixir. She leaned in, dropping her volume to a whisper. But level 10 dungeons are no joke. You usually need a 5-man squad to survive. Then came the kicker. It was true. But the administration was about to scrap that rule any day now. The moment those words hit the air, Lin Feng's eyes went supernova. A massive grin stretched across his face as he pumped his fist. That is huge, he shouted, declaring, I'm heading out right now. Vera watched him bolt, leaving a dust trail, still clutching that gardening hoe. Watching him fade into the distance, she mused. Is that pure, uncomplicated heart of his the secret source of that insane nature mana? Moments later, Lin Feng pulled up to a colossal tree-shaped structure. At the roots, a neon blue and purple portal swirled the gateway to the level 10 nightmare, Gloom Forest. 2 faculty supervisors blocked the entrance. A gaggle of students hanging out nearby spotted Lin Feng sprinting straight for the danger zone. One guy pointed, looking totally lost. Why is the farmer dude here? He figured Lin Feng definitely took a wrong turn. Another student burst out laughing, roasting the hoe in Lin Feng's grip. Bro thinks he's gonna dig for turnips inside the dungeon. Then recognition hit. Wait, that's the freshman Lin Feng, someone said, realizing the kid was only level 8. The shockwave hit the crowd. As they whispered, is he actually suicidal soloing a level 10? Ignoring the peanut gallery, Lin Feng marched up to the supervisors. He slapped a form into their hands. Application for a solo run, Gloom Forest. One guard scanned the paper, his expression tightening. Kid, you're way underleveled, he stated flatly. Going in there alone is basically a death sentence. Lin Feng just held up the form, beaming with confidence. Check the handbook. Academy rules say, any student, he emphasized, has the right to request a run. He politely demanded access. Suddenly, Vera materialized behind him. The supervisor froze, eyes popping as he clocked exactly who she was. Before he could stammer a word, Vera stepped up. She pressed a finger to her lips, shh, signaling him to keep his mouth shut. The guard took a deep breath, snapping to attention. Right, the regulations stand, he admitted. He wished Lin Feng luck, but added a grim caution. Know your limits. If you can't handle the mobs, bail out immediately. Lin Feng strode toward the portal. The upperclassmen watched him go, disbelief written on their faces. One senior scowled. Is this kid brain dead? The whispers turned toxic, labeling him as nothing more than fresh cannon fodder. He's got nothing on the elites, they sneered. Another student stared at the swirling dungeon gate, his voice dripping with malice. Honestly, hope he doesn't make it back. Having a weakling like that, he muttered, is just embarrassing. For a top-tier academy like ours. Inside the level 10 Gloom Forest, a pack of blue, wolf-like beasts ambushed instantly. Their eyes glowed demon red as they lunged for the intruder. Lin Feng didn't even flinch. He barked orders to his undead squad. Hey Chi Uaye, clear the path. He signaled the rest to form up, and blitzed straight through for a speedrun. A blinding flash of azure light erupted. Hey Chi, covered in glowing runes, blitzed the monsters like a lightning bolt, trapping the wolf pack in suspended hydro bubbles. Behind him, Uaye emerged in obsidian armor, a dark aura pulsing around him. He swung his heavy weapon, and though the wolves threw themselves at him, they couldn't even scratch his defense. Bodies hit the floor in seconds. Lin Feng stepped over the carnage. Violet energy coils around his palm, the signature aesthetic of his necromancer arts. Voice dead steady. He orders the fallen beasts to stand up and serve. Pop. A tiny glowing figure manifests right next to him. It's a pint-sized pup. A blue interface identifies the little guy as a kobold undead. But deeper in the dungeon, the main event is starting. Lin Feng steps into the final chamber. A behemoth awaits him, the Shadowfall Kobold Chieftain. Level 12. This thing is an absolute unit, rocking razor claws, jagged fangs, and crimson energy veins pulsing across its skin. Lin Feng stares down the boss without flinching. One hand casually stuffed in his pocket, he drops a savage critique. He claims this is the final boss, but honestly, it's giving mid-energy. The whole dungeon feels underwhelming. Lin Feng actually yawns, bored out of his mind, and signals his undead squad to rush the target, treating the boss like trash mob fodder. Looming ahead, the massive chieftain hoists its glowing weapon sky high. The monster unleashes a deafening roar, bringing the blade down with catastrophic force. But before the hit connects, Heichi, wreathed in black and violet flames, intercepts the strike. His body radiates dark markings as he face-tanks the collision. Purple lightning arcs wildly from the impact point. Heichi slams into the chieftain with god-tier strength. The clash triggers a massive violet detonation. The blast wave tears through the chamber, rippling out in every direction. The floor fractures, debris goes airborne, and the atmosphere vibrates as the explosion yeets the chieftain backward. A blinding azure shockwave follows up, scrubbing the battlefield clean and kicking up a dust storm. A system interface pops up over the carnage. Notification: the Shadowfall Kobold Chieftain has been eliminated. EXP flows in boosting Lin Feng straight to level 9. The loot log updates acquired one item, Chieftain's Fang. Beneath the holographic text, the boss's corpse lies still, surrounded by glowing drops of loot. Then another window pings. It detects a potential, summonable unit, but hits him with a denial level requirement not met. The system confirms Lin Feng cannot convert the Shadowfall Kobold Chieftain into an undead minion yet. Another blue panel slides into view. It tracks the progress of Death F2, a glitchy bar that just hit 10% completion. Lin Feng eyes the notification totally unbothered. He quietly deduces that summoning monsters above his current level is a no-go. He mutters that it's a shame the boss can't join his undead army. But hey, the dungeon objective is cleared. The chieftain's Fang starts pulsating with weird blue and black vibes reacting to his system. Lin Feng decides that since he grabbed the Fang, he's heading back to swap it for some fertilizer. Task done, he spins around and strolls toward the swirling extraction portal. His silhouette vanishes into the spinning light as he exits the instance. Outside the entrance of the level 10 zone, Gloom Forest, a crowd is camping near the portal, shifting nervously on the sandy terrain. The moment Lin Feng respawns at the Academy Exchange Hub, an officer hits up Vera Lord, questioning if they seriously need to follow protocol and trade the item for Lin Feng. He argues the front lines are in crisis mode, and their combat class inventory is tapped out. Vera keeps her cool, shutting him down. She clarifies it's not combat gear, it's literally just soil fertilizer for nature-type classes. Realizing his mistake, the suit confirms they have stacks of that stuff lying around. As he speaks, a system broadcast flashes. It displays the updated clear record for Gloom Forest. Solo first clear achieved by Lin Feng. Evaluation rating SSS. He secured the special reward, 1 heroic spirit fragment. Right as that announcement drops, Lin Feng steps out of the portal, looking fresh like he just took a casual stroll. Instead of soloing a dungeon, the nearby students are shook. One girl screams that the heroic spirit fragment is an ultra-rare treasure capable of buffing soul origin and boosting class potential. She can't process that he snagged such a legendary drop. The boys in the crowd instantly turn salty. One accuses Lin Feng of hacking, while another swears he must be exploiting bugs or using banned items. The mob mentality grows. They demand a full investigation, screaming for his rewards to be revoked, especially that fragment. Voices overlap, shouting he doesn't deserve the win. Standing in the back, Vera taps her lips, hiding a knowing smirk. She whispers that she expected Lin Feng to grind the dungeon a few times. She never guessed he'd one-shot the place on his first try. Students and instructors swarm Lin Feng, ready for a confrontation. Lin Feng scans the angry mob circling him. Looking absolutely exhausted, he asks who he managed to trigger this time at the entrance of the level 10 dungeon, Gloom Forest. Lin Feng stood in the eye of the storm, circled by a pack of students whose glares could practically peel paint, pure hostility radiating off them. You could cut the tension with a knife. They were definitely salty about his solo dungeon clear. Unbothered, Lin Feng strolled right up to the instructor. He flashed the chieftain's Fang cool as ice, reminding everyone that per the Academy handbook, he was cashing this bad boy in for resources. Before the teach could even open his mouth, one of the haters stepped up, veins popping, screaming that Lin Feng's loot was straight up hacked and needed to be seized immediately. The instructor, though, stone cold, didn't even flinch. He just held up one finger, shutting down the noise. The loot dropped from the dungeon instance, period, meaning the Academy couldn't touch it. Then another challenger stepped out of the mob, looking way too confident for his own good. He threw down the gauntlet, a resource wager. Lin Feng shot him a confused look. A resource? What now? Someone from the crowd broke it down, basically a dungeon speedrun battle, 1 versus 1, teachers watching every move. Both players dive into separate instances to see who clocks the fastest clear time. Winner takes all literally. You win, you get the other guy's loot. You lose, you walk away with 0. The crowd started buzzing instantly. The instructor eyed Lin Feng, waiting for the call. You gonna take that bet, kid? Lin Feng just shook his head, looking totally unimpressed. Nah, what's in it for me? He called the whole thing a snooze fest. The teacher blinked completely, thrown off by the rejection. Meanwhile, the challenger squad looked ready to explode. They were banking on him taking the bait. Headband guy started sweating bullets, teeth grinding audibly. He wasn't letting this go. He barked out, fine then. I'll throw in the blueprint for the Lamp of Nature hearing. That Vera immediately leaned into Lin Feng's ear. You need that blueprint, she whispered urgently. Then came the lore dump. The lamp is a top-tier growth-type artifact, exclusive to the nature department. And here's the kicker, the blueprint is single-use, one and done, making it insanely rare. Vera kept going, this thing hacks the growth cycle of crops, with 0 debuffs. Headband guy caught the vibe, smirking as he leaned in. You done whispering? How's that sound? Ready to put your money where your mouth is? But while he was talking smack, he was hiding his phone behind his back, fingers flying across the screen. He fired off a text. To Senior Haru. See, the second Lin Feng exited the dungeon earlier, Haru had been on it. His orders, stall Lin Feng by any means necessary. But the kid had texted back. What if he ghosts me? Haru's reply was, cold, force a wager. Don't you still have that lamp blueprint? The kid hesitated, that item was his family's legacy. But pressure cooks diamonds, so he caved. He hit send, I'm in. Back in the present, Lin Feng's gears were turning. He couldn't leak his Necromancer class. But with only one ref watching, masking his skills would be a cakewalk. His gaze sharpened, locking in. That lamp was as good as his. Lin Feng flashed a confident, almost predatory grin. Deal. The rival burst out laughing, chin high, reeking of arrogance. He vowed to bust Lin Feng wide open right then and there, making sure the teacher saw every dirty little secret. But Lin Feng, he just stood a few feet away, hands shoved in his pockets, looking totally unbothered. The scene cut to the swirling blue vortex of the level 10 dungeon, the Gloom Forest, where light spiraled like a hurricane. Inside, Lin Feng stood side by side with the skeptical teacher. The instructor whipped around, demanding to know how Lin Feng speed ran this dungeon so fast. Lin Feng just scratched the back of his neck, flashing a cocky grin. Watch this, he said, promising to flex his true power. Suddenly, a blinding green aura exploded around him. Raw energy surged through his palm as he reached out. His gaze turned icy sharp. As he commanded his farm hands to rise, emerald light erupted, swirling into a storm above him. From that glowing chaos, his earth-covered undead materialized, rising up behind him like a titanic bodyguard. Green shockwaves pulsed across the zone, while Lin Feng stood dead calm in the center of the summoning circle. The teacher's jaw dropped. Cold sweat dripped down his face as he muttered to himself. The summoning speed was insane, and the troops Lin Feng pulled out looked like absolute units. Lin Feng strutted forward with zero hesitation, and the teacher trailed behind, eyes glued to that eerie green glow. This was it. The teacher realized this was his golden ticket to finally analyze the broken ability Lin Feng used to solo the dungeon. Suddenly, Lin Feng's hand shot up. His eyes narrowed, and his voice cut through the air like a blade. He ordered his squad to attack, with everything they had. On cue, a horde of monsters stampeded from the shadows, eyes glowing, blood-red jaws snapping in pure rage, as they blitzed the summoner. But Lin Feng's undead army had reflexes like lightning. The plant-covered beast lunged, slamming into the mob like a freight train. Its glowing body plowed through the pack, shoving them back with overwhelming strength. The undead bear went on a rampage, paws blurring as it dished out heavy hits. Every strike set off green fireworks, lighting up the dark dungeon. Then Hei-Chi stepped into the fray. Hood-up face, blank green runic lines glowing softly on its skin. Hei-Chi raised 2 fingers, weaving magic circles in the air around its palms. Channeling a massive surge of power, a barrage of volatile green orbs erupted all at once. The projectiles connected with the enemy wave and shattered them into pixelated dust instantly. Boom, the forest echoed with explosions as everything burst into pieces. But Hei-Chi wasn't done. It threw both hands up and unleashed a devastating beam of emerald lightning. The attack laser-beamed forward, smashing into the earth. Debris flew into the air, and the ground cracked wide open under the impact. Rocks scattered like shrapnel as the blast landed with terrifying force. The teacher stood, frozen eyes popping out of his head, mouth hanging open. He looked completely shook by the destruction. He whispered to himself that it took Lin Feng less than 60 seconds to completely delete a same-level kobold patrol squad. Cold sweat poured down the teacher's face. He stared at Lin Feng, unable to process the god-tier power he just witnessed. Was this some kind of hidden special class? Because that level of strength was way too broken for a regular student. Ahead, Lin Feng stood chill next to a pile of glowing rubble, the leftovers of the defeated kobolds. He turned slightly, voice relaxed. He told the teacher, "Patrol's down. I'm heading to the boss room next." Hearing that, the teacher frozen up again. He was speechless, eyes tracking Lin Feng's every move. Suddenly, dark energy spiked right in front of Lin Feng. A twisted vortex of purple and blue tore open the air. Inside the swirling tunnel, something shifted. A split second later, a shadow rocketed out at breakneck speed. It was a massive kobold warrior, fur bristling wildly, eyes burning crimson. It unleashed a feral roar, flashing razor-sharp fangs. The beast leaped straight for Lin Feng's throat. Lin Feng stood his ground, barking orders with a calm iron will. Bear shields up, push forward, everyone else fall in behind. He warned them to watch the flanks and counterattack hard if any kobolds tried to be sneaky. The undead bear slammed its shield up, triggering a massive green explosion. Energy rippled out. As the bear charged, the red-eyed kobold warrior pounced from the shadows, screaming in fury as it aimed for the green figure blocking its path to Lin Feng. Big mistake. That wasn't just a meat shield. It was Wu Ya Lin Feng's warrior undead. Moving with supernatural speed, its body flashed with power. As it wound up for the kill, it swung its arm, firing a blast of bright green force. The punch connected squarely with the giant kobold's chest. A shockwave ring blasted outward, shoving the monster back with insane pressure. The impact launched the kobold backward like a rag doll. Energy waves shook the ground, rattling stones and kicking up a massive dust cloud. The instructor's jaw practically hit the floor beads of cold sweat, tracing a nervous path down his paralyzed face. He screamed that raw talent like this needed the principal's eyes on it immediately. Suddenly, emerald energy corkscrewed across the scarred battlefield. As Lin Feng recalled his summons from the heart of that glowing vortex, the teacher cautiously stepped forward. The colossus lay sprawled in the dirt, absolutely wasted, while Lin Feng stood beneath the carcass, radiating zero stress. Framed by a swirling green aura, the teacher scrambled onto a jagged boulder, craning his neck to look up at the student towering above him. Amidst the wreckage, Lin Feng tossed a glance over his shoulder, flashing a confident grin. Did I finally make my point? No hesitation from the teach, he confirmed that student Lin Feng hadn't just proven himself, he'd shattered expectations. Moments later, they strolled across the fractured earth, Lin Feng, rocking that signature nonchalance with hands buried deep in his pockets. Side-eyeing the prodigy, the instructor broke the silence, asking if Lin Feng planned to head out. Lin Feng claimed he was vibing with the dungeon scenery and wanted to loiter a bit longer, prompting the teacher to prep his exit through the luminous gate. But before dipping, the instructor dropped a warning. The dungeon hard resets exactly 30 minutes after clear. He told the kid to keep an eye on the clock before stepping through the portal. Solo, now Lin Feng approached the massive boss, sprawled across the stone floor, the beast's corpse still as a statue. Glaring down at the carcass, he muttered about being too low level last time, his hand tightening into a determined fist. Time to see if the grind paid off. He extended a hand toward the remains, activating his Necromancer abilities. Instantly, dark violet energy erupted from the earth, crackling like lightning up his arm as he took a knee beside the beast. With a gaze of absolute steel, he dropped the command, "Arise." A purple silhouette began to coalesce. Peeling away from the corpse, the form solidified, blazing eyes, razor fangs, and a hulking outline crafted from pure shadow and amethyst light. The shadow construct loomed over Lin Feng, radiating an aura so heavy it felt like gravity doubled. As the titan stared down with glowing violet eyes, Lin Feng straightened his posture, slipping one hand back into his pocket, meeting the gaze of his newest recruit with zero fear. Cut to the dungeon entrance where soft blue light bathed the ground. Slow, rhythmic footsteps echoed before Lin Feng strolled out of the rift, looking casually bored. The swirling vortex behind him pulsed with neon blues and purples as he faced the crowd of gathered students. One kid pointed, gasping that the monster had finally emerged, while another student looked visibly shook. He panicked, wondering if Lin Feng held a grudge for the trash talk earlier, while the group whispered nervously, deciding safety in numbers was the play. Meanwhile, the official beside Vera broke the silence with a grave tone. Declaring that Lin Feng had officially proven his worth to the extraordinary, he handed over a small pouch and a scroll. He confirmed these were the rightful spoils of war. Lin Feng accepted the loot, silent but totally composed. Loot secured. Lin Feng scanned the area, his expression locked in. Vera, initially puzzled, approached him with a beaming smile to report that the earlier troublemaker had bailed. She explained that once the administrator dropped his testimony, the kid realized he was cooked. He ditched the stolen goods and fled. Lin Feng absorbed the info quietly, reaching into his pocket and pulling out the rewards he just snagged. A smirk tugged at his lips as he proudly displayed a container. With pure satisfaction, he declared it was top-tier fertilizer. Today's trip was a bumper crop. Lin Feng snatched the reward, grinning like a kid in a candy store. Behind him, the administrator secretly slipped Vera a discreet item. He suggested she might need the recording stone evidence that captured every second of Lin Feng's dungeon dominance. Smash cut to a fist burying itself deep into a heavy bag. A photo of Lin Feng was taped to the leather, and the punch obliterated the target's face. Inside Haru's dorm at Sunwheel Academy, muscles coiled like snakes as he hammered the bag, screaming in frustration. He roared that a dirt-poor farmer had humiliated him on repeat. Panting Haru finally collapsed onto a bench. Rubbing his temples, he admitted that brute force was a bust, and the academy rules were useless against Lin Feng. After a heavy silence, he muttered that it was time to get dirty with a different approach. Haru's eyes narrowed into slits. He scoffed, convincing himself Lin Feng was just a show-off, relying on cheap nature tricks and summons. In that case, he produced a wax-sealed envelope. Voice turning icy, he ordered his lackey to rush the letter to the front lines, straight to his uncle the Count. Haru doubled down, barking out a second command. He demanded that the veteran mentors from the nature department currently stationed on the front lines drag themselves back to the academy immediately. Hearing this, his lackey, the same student Lin Feng had just humbled in the arena, stared at the envelope in his hands, totally shook. He stammered, asking if Haru was seriously planning to weaponize the nature department mentors to crush Lin Feng. Haru folded his arms, practically glowing with arrogance. He smirked, explaining that those old-school geezers valued magical purity and tradition above literally everything else. He claimed they had zero tolerance for anyone who dared to remix the rules. With a chilly glint in his eyes, he declared that sicking the old guard on Lin Feng was the ultimate checkmate. He was dying to see if that rookie could keep up his cocky act once the real masters stepped in. Meanwhile, over in the dorms, Vera lounged across her bed, rocking a loose white shirt. Her hair cascaded over her shoulders as she gazed idly at a recording crystal hovering in midair. Suddenly, Vera bolted upright. Her eyes popped open. This kid, Lin Feng, is an absolute beast in this footage, she whispered to herself. His grasp on nature's power wasn't just skill, it was pure instinct. Even as a top-tier instructor, she was genuinely rattled. Vera straightened up her face, going dead serious. I'll write a letter tomorrow, she started, then snapped, no. Right now. Those battlefield veterans needed a heads up immediately. They had to get back here stat. A tiny messenger owl materialized out of thin air next to her, clutching the sealed intel in its beak. With a soft word, she launched it out the window. Watching it vanish into the blue sky, Vera's expression hardened. She muttered, if those old fossils don't get back here fast, they're gonna miss the performance of a lifetime. Cut to the grind for days straight. Lin Feng camped inside the dungeon. Deep in the cavern, he absolutely wrecked the giant red-eyed wolf boss on repeat. The monster hung its head, totally demoralized. It was helpless against this guy. A ranking board flashed into existence. First place, Lin Feng, clocking in at 10 minutes and 28 seconds. But look, lower second place. Third place and beyond, all Lin Feng. He was basically spamming the dungeon, shaving mere seconds off his own god-tier runs. The crowd of students outside stared at the screens in disbelief. Dude is solo clearing this like it's his backyard, one girl complained, shaking her head. What is this, his 100th run today? Another asked. Someone yawned, answering. Bro, I stopped counting ages ago. Another student sighed. Watching him power level is getting stale. Can we watch someone who actually struggles? This is just farming. Moments later, Lin Feng rolled up to Instructor Chen, dumping a crate overflowing with razor-sharp wolf fangs. Fertilizer exchange, please, he grinned. Instructor Chen stared at him, face grim. Kid, you've already farmed enough credits. For a promotion, he said. Sticking around the lower academy. Waste of time for a player like you. Apply for the transfer to the upper academy. Lin Feng blinked, caught off guard. His eyes widened slightly as the words sank in. He asked, what's the deal with the upper academy? The instructor broke it down. The extraordinary academy is split in two, upper and lower. The lower academy, like Storm Academy here, is basically the tutorial zone for training talent, the instructor continued. But Sunwheel Academy, that's where the elite from every lower branch gather. That's the real deal. Once you step into Sunwheel, the loot and resources drop rates are on a completely different level compared to this place. He emphasized, that is exactly where a prodigy like you belongs. Lin Feng listened without a word, eyes narrowing as he calculated his next move. Sunwheel Academy, he whispered, a smirk forming. Thanks for the tip, Teach. Scene switched to the mission hall. Lin Feng strolled to the counter, keeping it professional. I'm here to apply for the Sunwheel promotion. The receptionist looked up with a chill smile. Name department and show me the credits. He slid his voucher across the desk. Her screen lit up with his stats. Name Lin Feng. Department Nature. Affiliation Storm Academy. Current credits 30,000. 135. The bystanders gasped, whispering frantically. Yo, 30,000, one exclaimed. Wait, another realized. That's the maniac who speedran Gloom Forest. Whispers rippled through the crowd as bystanders speculated on the insane grind he must have pulled off to hit those stats. The receptionist wrapped up the verification process, confirming his credits before sliding a heavy promotion mission scroll across the counter to Lin Feng. She laid it out clearly. Once he crushed this mission and passed the final vibe check, he'd officially be rostered at Sunwheel Academy. Snatching up the scroll with zero hesitation, Lin Feng dropped a calm question about upgrading his loot pool to gold-tier gear post-promotion. The redhead didn't sugarcoat it. Since he was still repping Storm Academy, his credit exchange was capped at basic tiers. limiting him to bronze and silver grade scraps. But then the blue-haired girl at the table jumped in with the hype. She confirmed that after leveling up, he'd unlock access to gold and even ultra-rare platinum supplies. Lin Feng just gave a polite nod, dropping a quick thanks. Strolling through the bustling mission hub, he scanned the scroll and raised an eyebrow. His objective was just out at the defensive perimeter, a simple fetch quest outside the city walls. He calculated the distance. It was practically next door to his manor, so this should be a walk in the park. But before jumping into the action, he muttered about needing to grab a specific item first. He cut a solitary figure navigating the academy's sun-drenched corridors and sprawling open walkways. Blinding light bounced off the pristine white architecture as he ducked into a side room where an older guy with a no-nonsense attitude was waiting. Without wasting breath, the man shoved a glowing star-shaped artifact into Lin Feng's hand, introducing it as the Lamp of Nature. Don't let the silver grade tag fool you. This thing punched way above its weight class, rivaling gold tier gear. But then came the stern warning. Keep it far away from necrotic energy or else. Lin Feng just flashed a chill smile and thanked the senior for the heads-up, looking totally unbothered as he gripped the radiating lamp with easy confidence. Stepping back outside, his eyes darted left and right, scanning for any tails. As he cut across the campus grass, he vanished into the tree line, weaving deeper through the dense trunks and underbrush. A sudden thought hit him. The blacksmith claimed this lamp was immune to necrotic corruption. Despite the expert's claim, Lin Feng felt a weird itch in his chest, a burning, irrational compulsion to put those words to the test. He dropped to the forest floor, releasing the Lamp of Nature to hover silently in midair before him. Gentle emerald swirls danced around the crystal as Lin Feng observed, slowly reaching his hand out and channeled a stream of purple energy straight at it. The raw necrotic power collided violently with the lamp's peaceful green aura. Chaos ensued. In a heartbeat, a massive spectral undead skull materialized behind the artifact, eyes burning with violet fury. Jagged bone structures encrusted the lamp, twisting it into a nightmarish relic. Purple flames erupted around Lin Feng, leaving him stunned as he locked eyes with the object and realized exactly what he'd just done. Total transmutation. The Lamp of Nature hadn't just changed, it flipped classes entirely, becoming an undead tier artifact. Thinking fast, Lin Feng pumped natural energy back into it, triggering a blinding green supernova that tore through the tree canopy. When the emerald flare subsided there, he was sitting calmly with the lamp restored to its pristine crystal state. He stashed the item away with lightning speed, making sure no prying eyes caught the glitch. Scrambling to his feet next to the towering timber, he brushed foliage out of his hair, admitting he definitely dodged a bullet there. The thing felt alive. By feeding it nature mana, he could factory reset it back to the Lamp of Nature. Good thing too, trying to explain that transformation would have been a nightmare. Scene cut. The city outskirts. Panning over the sprawling grounds of Lin Feng's farm, before zooming into the massive greenhouse structure. Lin Feng reached up, stretching his frame as he secured the now purified Lamp of Nature to a high wooden beam. Golden sunlight flooded the interior, warming his back. As he stepped away to admire the placement, he watched with a stoic gaze, eyes locked on the suspended artifact. Suddenly, the magic kicked in. He glanced at the plots below. Rows of giant cabbages began to surge upward, accelerating their growth in real time. Bathed in that soft, life-giving glow, Lin Feng stood silent, muttering that this item's buff was actually terrifyingly strong. First run, and it was already speedrunning the harvest. As he started gearing up, Lin Feng mused that the Extraordinary Academy must be hiding even more broken items like this. He needed to crush that promotion mission as soon as possible to get them. Suit on, he bolted forward, enveloped in a blazing blue aura as he launched himself out of the farm complex. But back inside, something stirred. Lin Feng's blue undead minion crept out from the wooden shadows, staring up at the Lamp of Nature with visible confusion. Slowly, the creature reached up, wrapping its cold fingers around the glowing artifact. Meanwhile, way out in the boonies, the dilapidated pink spire loomed against the sky, a cracked relic from another era, swallowed by choking smog. Lin Feng pulled up to the coordinates, eyeing the massive decaying structure. Fractures ran down the masonry like veins. Eerie phosphorescent lights pulsed through the heavy fog. He squinted, confirming the intel under his breath. Target location confirmed. He moved in with stealth. Visibility was practically zero. Every step was calculated. The temperature dropped, biting at his skin. Crouching low to inspect the terrain, he spotted a disturbance in the dirt, a boot print. He zoomed in on the details. The tread was crisp, fresh. Someone had stomped through here mere seconds ago. Lin Feng paused, mind racing. Who else hangs out in a haunted fog bank for fun? Snap. A sharp echo sliced through the silence before he could finish the thought. Head snaps up. Alert mode engaged. High atop the spire, two silhouettes emerged from the swirling vapor. Move it, one barked voice laced with panic. The young master wants that artifact secured. Before Lin Feng shows his face, we gotta tank his mission score right now. A beat later, a triumphant laugh rang out. Got it, jackpot. It was 2 corporate suits trespassing on the mist-covered tower. One of them clutched a heavy grimoire, the exact item Lin Feng needed. The suit gripped the tome tight, while his partner played lookout by the rusted railing. The guy with the book was jittery. Keep it down, man, he hissed. Lin Feng could pop up any second. The lookout rolled his eyes, feigning confidence. Relax, bro. If he shows, we just roast the book with fire magic. Easy. The partner looked at him like he was insane. The lookout shrugged, tossing the mission item into the air like a toy. If the item is toast, he explained. Lin Feng fails. Simple math. Suddenly, a shockwave of energy blasted the platform, knocking the book off the ledge. Down below, Lin Feng snagged the falling tome out of the air with a smooth catch. He secured the heavy volume, shooting a gaze up at the intruders. A smirk played on his lips. So, should I thank you guys for saving me the climb? The suits froze, faces draining of color as they realized the target was already in the kill zone. You idiot. This is on you, one screamed, instantly turning on his teammate. Then he barked a command. Get it back, now. They dove off the railing, blue infernos igniting in their palms, plummeting toward Lin Feng, like human missiles. Their suits flapped violently in the wind. As they closed the distance, Lin Feng didn't flinch, reaction time instant. Emerald energy flared around his fists. Massive tree roots speared upward from the earth, racing to meet them. The wooden spikes tore through the soil, intercepting the aerial attack. The suits lost all momentum, spinning out of control as the vines snatched them midair. Lin Feng left them dangling upside down, cocooned in thick roots like captured prey. Their eyes were popping out of their skulls. Lin Feng stood below, hands on hips, staring up at his new ornaments. His expression was calm, but the vibe was lethal. All right, he said, start talking. He tilted his head back, a cold smile sharpening his features. Cut scene. The setting shifts to the outskirts of the city. Lin Feng's farm. Golden hour. Orange sunlight bathing the wooden greenhouses. It looked peaceful, but the energy was off. Lin Feng clenched his fist, piecing it together. Haru. That snake was behind the ambush. He paced mind, working overtime. Running into those goons was bad news. If this keeps up, his secret identity is going to get doxed. Need a strategy, he muttered, before I get exposed. Then he halted dead in his tracks. His jaw practically hit the floor. Standing by the barn was his blue undead minion, rocking a yellow construction hard hat. One hand held a red flag, the other gripped the glowing nature lamp like a traffic wand. Behind him, the undead bear was hauling a cart loaded with timber. A crew of skeletal rabbits and lizards were scurrying around performing manual labor. The blue guy was literally acting as the site foreman, supervising the creature crew. Lin Feng stood frozen, watching the sunset glint off this bizarre industrial machine. It felt like a fever dream. He rubbed his eyes vigorously. Am I seeing this right? Nope, it was real. A wide grin broke across his face. Passive income, he whispered. It's fully automated. Meanwhile, back at Haru's headquarters, the air was thick enough to cut with a knife. A subordinate bowed low, sweating bullets as he reported. Sir, the team is at the tower. We've begun the sweep. The search team came back empty-handed, no bodies, just lingering traces of mana. The scout broke the news gently. The missing men were definitely toast. Before the report even finished, a deafening boom rocked the office. Haru, shirtless and absolutely shredded, had put his fist straight through the drywall. Debris crumbled, dusting the floor. Veins popped against his skin as he screamed at his crew. He called them absolute garbage. Useless amateurs who couldn't handle the simplest job. The subordinate stood paralyzed, terrified to breathe. Haru spun around, eyes blazing with toxic rage, jaw locked tight. He hissed Lin Feng's name through clenched teeth and stared out the window, a cigarette trembling between his fingers. The fury was building a slow boil, the audacity of this kid to actually wipe out his squad. He snapped back, barking a lethal command, get Shadow Eclipse on the line. Name their price. I don't care how much. Put a bounty on Lin Feng's head. The minion bowed instantly and scrambled to make the call. Haru's expression turned pitch black, muttering that Toka's death had to be Lin Feng's doing. The room felt heavy with his murderous intent as he stared into the void, obsessed with nothing but payback. Cut to Sunwheel Academy Mission Hall, bathed in chill afternoon sunlight. Inside, a staff member handed over a stack of folded gear. He congratulated Lin Feng on officially joining the big leagues, dropping the usual seek the truth speech. Lin Feng grinned, taking the fresh uniform. New threads, new ID badge. Lin Feng looked hype, clutching the gear like it was gold. His brain was already calculating promotion equals more credits, which means way more farming resources. Later at the Gloom Forest entrance, a level 10 zone, a crowd buzzed around the glowing portal. Sunbeams cut through the canopy. Lin Feng flashed his shiny new badge to get through security. He stepped up to the counter confidently. One solo ticket for the dungeon, please. The staff guy gave him a blank look. Yeah, that's gonna be a no, chief. Lin Feng blinked, totally confused. Excuse me, I grind this place all the time. The staffer started citing the rulebook. To protect resource spawns for the rookies in the lower house. Upper house elites are banned from stomping low-level dungeons. It's capped. Lin Feng froze like a deer in headlights. Cold sweat dropped. You're telling me I can't farm here anymore. I just needed a few more runs. He walked away crushed. The staff member watched him go and let out a massive sigh of relief. Thank God. If that kid stayed, the dungeon warehouse would have been looted completely dry. Lin Feng trudged down the path, looking grim. This was a disaster. No dungeon access meant his easy resource stream was dead. What's the play now? Suddenly, a voice cut in. Yo, you're the new hotshot, Lin Feng, right? A tall guy with a buzz cut and a cigarette dangling from his lip stepped into his path. Name's Ron. Saw you wandering around looking lost. He eyed Lin Feng up and down. Trouble finding a gig. Ron didn't wait for an answer. Listen, my squad. Picked up a fetch quest, but we're down a man. Lin Feng looked at him sideways, thinking this guy's timing was a little too perfect. Sketchy. Ron threw a friendly arm around his shoulder. You in, it's a solid way to get used to the upper house difficulty curve. Lin Feng ran the numbers. He desperately needed the credits for supplies, and learning the new map mechanics wouldn't hurt. If it was just a collection run, it should be a walk in the park. After a second, Lin Feng nodded. I'm down. Ron smirked. Attaboy, let's move the crews waiting at the gate. A few minutes later, they pulled up to the massive crystal tree gate portal swirling in the center. Ron led him over to the squad. Meet the team. He gestured to a girl and a hulking guy, standing nearby. That's Yubai, she's got the Ice Queen vibe down pat. And the sourpuss is Carter. Ron broke down the mission. Target moonlight grass. Spawns deep in the forest. We need 10 stalks to clear the quest. He added a warning. Intel says, night elves are patrolling the zone, so keep a low profile. No heroics, just grab and go. Finally, the squad was complete. 4 silhouettes marched in unison, swallowed by the shimmering maw of the dungeon portal. Deep within the shadow woods, the canopy loomed like a ceiling of claws. Dappled sunlight barely pierced the gloom, illuminating their path through the ancient timber. Stealth mode engaged. Their eyes locked onto a target, stalks rising from the underbrush crowned with delicate white bell-shaped blooms. The HUD flashed moonlight grass. Bingo. Ron didn't hesitate, snatching a handful of the glowing flora from the earth. A smirk tugged at his lips. Easy money. He quipped that the objective was secured way too fast. But the universe has a funny way of checking egos. A deafening roar tore through the silence. Spectral fog rolled out from a crumbling stone archway, choking the path. Then the ambush hit. Winged nightmares burst from the mist, screeching for blood. Night Elf Patrol. Bad news. The team snapped into combat formation instantly, weapons drawn and adrenaline spiking. Ron's face hardened. He barked a warning contact front. Everyone battle stations now. The lead elf unleashed a bone-chilling shriek. Her crimson eyes flared like demonic embers, dark mana crackling violently around her frame. She wound up for the kill, but death rained from above first. 2 massive projectiles, streaking purple and green, plummeted toward them at terminal velocity. Neon trails scarred the air. Ron lunged his blade, becoming a blur of steel as he intercepted the bombardment with a thunderous slash. The impact shockwave shredded the enemy magic. Ron didn't waste a beat, his expression grim. He shouted for the formation to lock in. He roared at the rookie. Lin Feng, hit him with nature magic. Crowd control is their weakness. Slow them down. Lin Feng gave a curt nod. Copy that. He surged to the front line, thrusting a palm forward. Emerald energy erupted as vines exploded from the earth. The spell hit its mark instantly. The night elves were helpless against the verdant onslaught, snarled in a rapidly expanding web of thorns and roots. The vines coiled like pythons. With a powerful yank, Lin Feng leaped, hoisting the struggling elves high into the air and pinning them against the canopy branches. Perfect setup. While the mobs were incapacitated, Ron dashed in his sword, flashing as he executed the helpless targets. Slash, slash, slash. The party leader was a whirlwind of violence, his steel drenched in crimson as he dissected the airborne enemies one by one. But the victory was short-lived. Ron's face darkened. Damn it, they're signaling for backup. He spun around, signaling Carter and Yuei. Execute the plan. Yuei's lips curled into a chilling smile. Showtime. She gave the nod. Carter grinned back, gripping his weapon. You got it. He slammed his heavy weapon into the dirt, funneling raw mana into the soil. Earth Skill Fissure activate. The forest floor groaned and split apart. A massive chasm yawned open, swallowing the screeching night elves into the darkness below. Collateral damage. Hardly. The ground vanished beneath Lin Feng's feet. He plummeted but slammed a hand onto the ledge, fingers digging into the rock. He stared up at Ron, eyes wide with shock. The facade crumbled. The squad loomed over the edge, staring down at him. Ron offered a smile that didn't reach his eyes. Oops. My bad, man. He shrugged. Carter here just unlocked that skill. His aim is, well, let's just say it's trash. Total accident that you got caught in the blast zone. Lin Feng swung there, dangling over the abyss, analyzing the 3 faces peering down at him. So that's it. Lin Feng's voice was steady. You guys just gonna watch me drop? Ron chuckled, shaking his head. Oh, it's not that we won't save you. It's just the story you see. The ambitious junior brother, fresh to the upper house, was too reckless, too stubborn. He charged an elite boss solo. A hero's death, really. We tried to stop him, but alas, nothing we could do. Lin Feng's grip tightened on the rock. You think the academy won't investigate a student murder? Bold move. Ron's grin widened to a predatory sneer. See, that's the beauty of the Sunwheel ID badge. It's got a special feature. It records high-level mana signatures. Once you're splatter on the rocks, we'll take your badge, scan the elite monster's energy, and boom, proof of your accident. Lin Feng's face went blank. Bored even. One last thing he called up. No other way for the truth to get out. No witnesses. Ron leaned over, eyes glinting with malice. Trust me, kid. We're pros. We've cleaned up messes like this a dozen times. Absolute professionals. Lin Feng nodded slowly. Understood. Then with zero hesitation, he unclenched his fingers. He let go. Gravity took over, pulling him into the yawning dark. No scream, no flailing, just a silent, rapid descent into the void. High above Ron threw his head back and laughed. Smart kid. He knew it was hopeless and took the quick way out. Saved us the trouble of killing him, but the laughter died in his throat. Ron froze. His pupils dilated, cold sweat instantly beating on his forehead as he stared into the abyss. He wasn't falling. He was rising. Lin Feng hovered up from the depths, a vortex of pitch-black energy swirling around him like a cloak. Pure terror gripped the squad. The aura intensified, suffocating the air. Lin Feng's gaze was absolute zero. He tilted his head. So, are you ready to meet my army? Jaws hit the floor. The guy was literally flying. Ron's voice cracked in a scream. No way. This is bad. They whipped around only to face a wall of rotting flesh and bone. Monstrous undead abominations towered over them. Yuebai trembled, echoing the sentiment. Very, very bad. One of the undead mages flashed a gruesome grin. It raised its bony hands, forming a cute little heart shape, right before unleashing a catastrophic energy beam. A blinding azure nova consumed the cliffside. It slammed directly into Ron's position, detonating with the force of a bomb. Battered and bleeding, Ron crawled from the smoke, eyes wide with horror. He stammered, pointing a shaking finger. Undead. You're a necromancer. Saying it was impossible, Lin Feng stood there, icy calm, stroking his chin, like he was deciding what to have for dinner. He glanced down at the trembling Ron. That it? Those your famous last words? Battered and barely breathing, Ron looked up with dead, tired eyes. We need to talk, he wheezed. Come on, man. We don't even have beef like that. It was Haru. He set the whole thing up. Ron pleaded, desperate for a way out. Just let us walk. We messed up. Okay, we know that now. Lin Feng hit him with that stone-cold stare. You don't know you were wrong, he said, voice flat. You just know you're about to be a corpse. Panic mode activated. Ron started rambling. Listen, Haru, he's convinced you're the one who smoked Toka. I'll snitch. I'll testify against him, Ron cried. Lin Feng crouched down, getting real close. Wait, who the hell is Toka? Ron froze, solid cold sweat dripping down his face. He had no words. Lin Feng just stood up and waved his hand like he was shooing away a fly. Doesn't matter now, Lin Feng muttered. Bury them. Boom. A massive shockwave of blue energy erupted behind him. As the skeletal mages floated forward to wrap things up, Ron lay there on death's door, mustering one last hateful glare. I hope you die, screaming, Ron shrieked. Lin Feng didn't blink, just planted his boot right on Ron's face to shut him up. Joke's on you. My best days are just starting. As the life faded from their eyes, Lin Feng stared at the fresh bodies and tapped into his necromancy. Rise. At his command, all three corpses jerked upward, dark, corrupted sigils spreading across the ground beneath them. Ron and his crew stood up, but they weren't human anymore, glowing with eerie purple and blue death energy. They locked eyes with Lin Feng and dropped to one knee. Lin Feng analyzed his new toys. Do undead made from humans keep their IQ? They seem smarter than the monster ones. He swiped their nameplates, weighing them in his hand. Suddenly he sensed that night elf magic pulsing from a distance. Perfect. Looks like I don't have to clean up this mess myself. Since people actually died, I should probably go report it. He turned and strolled toward the swirling blue portal. He reached out to leave, denied. The portal rejected him. He paused, hand hovering in midair. What the? Why can't I leave? He stood there, rubbing his chin, trying to figure out if the game was bugging out. Ping a system window flashed in his face. Item activated, regret of the past. The notification was clear, exit is sealed until the dungeon is 100% cleared. But there was a bonus, all attributes increased by 200% inside this instance. Before he could even process the buff, the ground behind him split open, ominous shadows stretched across the tree line. Thoom. Something heavy slammed into the earth. Lin Feng spun around, eyes wide. The blood drained from his face. A colossal nightmare horse was thundering straight for him. Dirt exploded under its hooves. Riding it was a hulking knight clad in pitch-black armor, crackling with jagged purple lightning. Lin Feng stared up as the beast skidded to a halt right in his face. Then the armored rider lowered his lance and charged. The spear tip blazed with violet electricity, aiming for the kill. But Lin Feng, he didn't flinch. He narrowed his eyes, reading the attack pattern in slow motion. He could feel exactly how strong this guy was. Behind him, his 3 new undead servants flared with purple flames. Lin Feng smirked. This guy, not a problem. He gave a lazy finger snap. Get him. The undead squad moved instantly. One blurred forward like a living shadow, intercepting the charging horse. Crash. It slammed into the knight's flank with a wave of purple energy slicing through the air with terrifying force. The horse and rider staggered violently. Before they could recover, the mage undead raised its hands, charging a massive spell. A crescent of pure dark magic ripped through the air, screaming straight toward the knight. The horse reared up in panic as the energy coiled around them like chains. The knight was losing control. He hit the dirt hard. Immediately, the archer undead perched high on a branch, let her arrow fly. She unleashed a volley of sharp, purple-infused arrows. Thwip, thwip, thwip. The knight's armor was riddled with dark energy projectiles. Black blood sprayed everywhere. Meanwhile, Lin Feng was casually peeling a banana, watching the beatdown like it was a movie. Nice, he chewed thoughtfully. These guys have way better instincts. Actual teamwork. Still missing something, though. Suddenly, a shockwave of purple force blasted the ground apart. Rocks flew everywhere. The battered knight dragged himself up, wheezing you. How do you wield the power of death? Lin Feng paused, chewed his banana, and flashed a bright, innocent smile. You wouldn't get it if I told you. His expression went cold. Finish him. The knight stiffened as a black clawed hand punched straight through his chest. His eyes bulged in pure shock. It was the undead bear's time to shine. The knight got absolutely wrecked, dropping to his knees with dark arrows turning his back. And chest into a pincushion, a massive hole punched right through his center. Boom! Lin Feng's bear roared, launched itself sky high, and came crashing down, flattening the knight instantly. A holographic blue screen popped up, signaling the dungeon. Clear progress just hit the 50% mark. Lin Feng eyed the notification, surprised. Dual boss mechanic. Seriously, he muttered. No time to rest. He pushed deeper into the forest's core, a place where giant purple mushrooms choked the massive ancient trees, and the shadows swallowed the path the further he went. Moving like a shadow himself, Lin parkoured across the towering, fungal platforms clinging to the trunks. He slammed to a halt, eyes widening. He wasn't alone. Straight ahead, eerie, purple flames erupted, licking up the bark of a colossal tree rooted over a crumbling stone altar. A strange mechanism pulsed at the center, leaking bad vibes. Suddenly, a pair of glowing green eyes snapped open within the fire. A woman with flowing violet hair materialized from the blaze, her face a mask of icy indifference. She stepped out, energy wings unfurling behind her like a dark angel. Her voice glitched and distorted, demanded to know why a human dared step foot on this sacred turf. Lin didn't even flinch. He just shrugged. If you can't talk like a normal person, I'm just gonna start swinging. Right on cue. The system HUD tagged her Elf Guardian level 18. She loomed over him in a gothic dress. Corrupted magic swirling around her like a storm ready to throw hands. The Guardian raised a palm-purple fire dancing at her fingertips. Across the arena, Lin Feng stared down the surging red energy flooding the room. Light particles drifted up as he locked in, braced for impact. Suddenly, a blue window flashed before his eyes, breaking down the combat mechanics. The Spore Domain debuff would drain any non-undead lifeforms every few seconds, but his undead crew, they'd actually regenerate mana. Lin Feng did the math instantly. In this dungeon, his summon army had infinite stamina, without tapping into his own reserves. A cocky smirk tugged at his lips. This was the regret of the past effect. Jackpot. His undead legion manifested behind him, radiating a mix of dark and pale auras looking terrifying. With total swagger, he gave the command to obliterate the target. Meanwhile, back in the real world under a sunny sky, Haru stood by the dungeon gate. Lin Feng had just disappeared into staring at the massive tree. He spoke with a chilling calm, noting that even if the others failed, the final boss inside was a nightmare waiting to happen. He explained that while regret of the past sounds like a buff, it's actually a trap designed to bury intruders. A twisted grin spread across his face. Doesn't matter if his stats get boosted by 200 or 400%, he whispered. Nobody beats that boss. He started laughing, a maniacal sound fueled by the anticipation of Lin Feng's demise. Back in the dungeon, chaos reigned. A violent shockwave of blue energy blasted from the arena floor. Emerging from the smoke, Lin Feng's skeleton mage stepped out like a boss, casually dragging the defeated elf guardian behind him. And Lin Feng, he was standing there, deadpan expression, casually snacking on a banana, like he was on a lunch break. A ghostly mist carpeted the floor as the mage forced the purple-haired guardian to her knees, gripping her by her hair. She crumbled, trembling in defeat. Lin Feng strolled over, cool as ice. Seeing him approach, the guardian recoiled in horror, glaring daggers at him. Then her gaze shifted to the warrior knight, recognizing the soul of He Ping, the necromancer. Her voice cracked through the static, accusing him of betrayal. Lin Feng glanced at his undead knight He Peng, who just stood there confused like, is she talking to me? The elf guardian's green eyes vibrated with rage. She screamed that he destroyed her queen's hatchery and swore the queen was coming for his head, but then her power flickered out. She slumped onto the glowing red floor, whispering one last threat, the queen will find you. Boom. The ancient stone altar cracked open, debris raining down. A massive energy spike shot upward, detonating in a blinding flash. A pillar of white light spiraled out from the ruins, the shockwave flooding the entire chamber. Lin Feng watched the spectacle unbothered as the light raged toward the ceiling. A system notification popped up. Gloom Forest dungeon cleared. Clear time, 2 hours and 17 minutes. A new speedrun record. Evaluation rank A. The loot calculation screen started spinning. Purple aura flickered around him as he checked the stats. He took another bite of his banana, nodding in approval. He could feel the power boost. As the blinding light faded, a mysterious object sat in the center of the room. A large, dark purple egg pulsing with ominous vibes. Lin Feng stepped in to investigate. Eyes narrowing, he locked his focus on the bizarre object pulsating in the darkness. Burning with curiosity, he stepped into the gloom and laid a hand on the massive violet egg resting in the cavern. Instantly, a holographic system window popped up, embryo of the chthonic demon, a mythical-grade artifact currently offline. The lore stated this was a life seed, the final remnant of an ancient fallen chthonic demon, requiring specific conditions to hatch, status dormant. However, it reacted to intense death aura, which boosted its affinity. Lin Feng leaned in, placing his gloved palm against the shell. Intrigue sharpened his gaze, as he whispered to himself, trying to figure out what this obsidian egg actually was, and why a hatchery was hiding such a freakish item. He raised his hand, flashing a simple silver band on his finger, a basic spatial storage ring. Violet energy erupted from the ring, tentacles of light stretching out to engulf the egg, sucking the giant artifact into his inventory. Immediately, a swirling blue portal materialized nearby. Seeing the exit, he hesitated. Should he bail now? He froze for a second, calculating, then spun around and headed deeper back into the dungeon. Ignoring the escape route, Lin Feng stalked toward the fallen boss, a level 18 beast, lying shattered on the cold ground. He ran the numbers. Turning a creature this powerful into a shadow soldier would drain a massive chunk of mana. But if it worked, it would rival Yao He in raw power. Smirking faintly, he raised a hand and dropped the command, arise. Dark energy exploded around the corpse. The monster's flesh twisted and morphed, reconstructing into a sleek, armored undead warrior pulsing with neon purple veins. The shadow soldier levitated from the debris, touching down silently in front of him. Suddenly, its eyelids snapped open sharp, vivid and brimming with intelligence. In a cold, reverb-heavy voice, she declared that she was the Death Executioner. Lin Feng's eyes went wide. He didn't expect the thing to actually talk. The purple-clad undead stood there, radiating a sharp violet aura. Lin Feng asked if it could speak. The undead responded with zero hesitation, stating she was the Death Executioner. Lin Feng was like, yeah, I got that, but the undead interrupted him, and repeated that she was the Death Executioner. Lin Feng stared at her in silence, but the undead glitched out again, claiming she was the Death Executioner. Lin Feng facepalmed, realizing the AI was broken, and ordered it to shut up. Stepping away from the swirling blue light, Lin Feng finally exited, emerging from the Gloom Forest dungeon entrance with terrifying calmness. Seeing him walk out without a single scratch, Haru was shook, demanding to know how this was even possible. The students gathered outside were absolutely floored as the news hit. Lin Feng had solo cleared the Gloom Forest. One student stumbled backward, mind completely blown. Others whispered frantically, this dungeon usually wiped out entire 5-man squads, yet Lin Feng strolled out like he just took a walk in the park. The principal stepped up, stunned to see Lin Feng alone. Keeping his cool, he asked where Ron Carter and Yue Bai were. Lin Feng looked down, feigning sorrow, and explained that they got jumped by night elves while farming moonlight grass. In the mayhem, the team got split up. He handed over their badges, spinning a story about barely escaping with his life, accidentally triggering the boss, and surviving by sheer luck. He even squeezed out a single Oscar-worthy tear, saying the others were likely done for. The principal scanned the magical residue on the badges and confirmed the energy signature indeed matched night elves. His face went grim as the pieces fit together. Haru clenched his fist, shaking with pure rage. The tension was thick as he stood in the crowd, listening to Lin Feng's performance. The principal grilled Lin Feng, asking if he encountered anything weird. Inside the instance, Lin Feng dropped a bomb the moment he entered. He got hit with a debuff called Regret of the Past. The principal frowned, asking if he had any beef with anyone lately. In the background, Haru watched in total disbelief. He couldn't process it. There was no way Lin Feng could solo the boss. It was statistically impossible. How could anyone pull that off? Hearing the principal's interrogation, Lin Feng turned his head, eyes scanning the crowd like a predator looking for prey. He saw the students basking in the sun, crisp in their white uniforms. And right there, he locked onto Haru, tall and conspicuous in a black shirt. Catching Lin Feng's stare, Haru stiffened, cold sweat trickling down his face. Lin Feng dipped his head, pretending to rack his brain for enemies. Then, he flashed a polite, innocent smile. I don't know much, sir. I just got promoted to Sunwheel Academy. Buying the act, the principal nodded gravely, vowing to investigate and bring the hammer of justice down. Lin Feng dropped a respectful bow, flashing a look of gratitude to the principal. I'm counting on you, sir. You're the real MVP. Meanwhile, Haru lurked in the background, eyes locked on them. His knuckles turned white, frustration boiling in his gut like pure acid. Suddenly, the color drained from Haru's face. His eyes nearly popped out as a terrifying realization hit him like a truck. He didn't hesitate. He noped out of there, sprinting for his life. His footsteps were frantic, desperate to escape the sinister vibes radiating off Lin Feng. Later that night, the farm stood dead silent under the stars. Inside, Lin Feng sat next to the massive purple embryo, wiping cold sweat from his neck. Something felt off. He recalled the embryo being chill inside the dungeon, totally dormant. But the second he brought it back to the farm, it started tweaking out. Savis's dying words flashed through his mind. It made him wonder, was this thing planted in the dungeon on purpose, like it was farming XP in there? He grazed the glowing shell and froze. The light pulsed, reacting to him. His undead magic and nature magic were both vibing with the embryo simultaneously. He stared, totally bewildered. By all laws of magic, those two energies should mix like oil and water. He took a step back, questioning reality. This thing was just like him, a vessel containing two opposing attributes. Crossing his arms, he paced with a stubborn look. He told himself firmly, I am human. But that embryo, that was straight out of the demon realm's nightmares. It wasn't adding up. Not wanting to risk it, he waved his hand and shoved the embryo back into his inventory. Staring at the wall, he formulated a game plan. He rolled down his sleeves, fixed his tie, and locked in. There was only one play left. Moments later, Lin Feng strode down the hallway and rapped his knuckles on the door labeled Principal's Office. Enter, a voice boomed. Lin Feng stepped inside to find the principal, looking up from a mountain of paperwork. Burning the midnight oil, Lin Feng, the principal asked. Without a word, Lin Feng pulled the throbbing embryo from his storage. The principal approached the strange purple sphere levitating in the center of the room. It's complicated, Lin Feng muttered. You need to see this. The principal leaned in, analyzing the object. His face went rigid. Where exactly did you loot this? He instantly threw up a soundproof barrier. Lin Feng didn't flinch. I grabbed it during the Shadowwood raid. It dropped after I soloed the boss. Honestly, I thought it was just trash loot at first. But then it started acting weird. The principal lowered his head deep in thought. This is a primordial demon embryo. No doubt about it, he continued, voice low. The demon race managed to slip past our radar. They're secretly farming these abominations inside our dungeons. Lin Feng looked shook. What even is a primordial demon? The principal went into lecture mode. Think of them as the demon race's elite special forces. Their diet, humans, that's how they level up. Some get strong enough to literally hop between dimensions. He broke down the hierarchy. Type 1, basic mob creeps. Then you've got the hulking brutes. The ones that wield weapons. That's a Type 4 threat. Next are the dragon tier monsters. Those spawn in a vortex of blood energy. We call them blood lair lords. The principal didn't stop there. Some of the realm hoppers use dungeon mechanics to spawn camp. They plant these seeds. They use the deaths and magic of adventurers as fuel, so these things can hatch in secret. The principal's eyes turned grim. Once a demon embryo hits max level, it busts out of the dungeon and invades the real world. He grazed the surface of the purple shell. This one is just in the early game. If it stayed in the dungeon, absorbing nutrients, it would have hatched in 6 months tops, and we'd be looking at an S-tier primordial demon. If that thing popped off inside the academy, total apocalypse. He paused. But here's the glitch. These things are usually perfectly hidden. It shouldn't have revealed itself unless there was a kindred spirit nearby. A similar aura. You get what I'm saying? Lin Feng froze, cold sweat, instantly beading on his forehead. As the implication clicked, his eyes went wide. Then the principal cracked a smirk. Relax, kid. I'm just trolling you. He chuckled. You made a solid move turning this in. I'm not going to drop the hammer on you. Everyone has hidden cards, and this academy respects that. As long as you don't turn on us top-tier talent like you gets freedom to grow. Then the principal's face went dead serious. But I need a vow from you. No matter how OP you become, never forget you rep Sunwheel Academy. Lin Feng, representing the human faction, gave a firm nod of acknowledgement. The principal looked visibly pleased. With a proud pat on the student's shoulder, the old man summoned a reward. A shimmering golden flag materialized in his palm. Consider this an investment, the principal explained. It's a territory banner, a little bonus for securing that embryo. He detailed the mechanics. Once Lin Feng planted this artifact on suitable land, it wouldn't just claim the spot. It would generate an impenetrable barrier with a radius of 500 meters and grant the power to literally reshape the terrain. As Lin Feng gripped the shaft, he could feel the raw cosmic laws vibrating against his skin. His eyes widened. This was a game changer. Exactly what my farm needs, he muttered. The principal leaned back into the sofa, relaxing. If that's all, go get some rest. I'll handle the cleanup operations, the old man added. Lin Feng didn't need to be told twice. He signaled his understanding. But before he could leave, the principal dropped 2 final updates. First, the freshman exchange was kicking off in the auditorium in 3 days. It was the perfect spot to network. Second, a nature-type instructor had left behind some fascinating notes before deploying to the front lines. The research focused on advanced plant cultivation and the complex science of hybridization. That word triggered something. Lin Feng stared at the golden flag, repeating hybridization under his breath. Until now, he had just been mashing undead and plants together like a novice. It was crude. But what if he could actually breed them at a genetic level? Mind racing with possibilities, he headed back to his farmhouse. He wasted no time crouching down to drive the banner into the soil. The moment it pierced the earth, a massive emerald magic circle erupted from the ground, flooding the zone with concentrated nature essence. Incredible, Lin Feng whispered. The ambient nature magic was skyrocketing thanks to the banner. He stood in his greenhouse, frustration creeping in. Fusing the concept of death magic with biological hybridization was a headache. He gazed at his undead minions, lost in thought, until a sudden chill hit him. His eyes narrowed. Something felt off. He wondered aloud if his shadow assassin Savas had run into trouble while tracking Haru. Meanwhile, inside a luxurious room, Haru was spiraling. He smashed his fist against the couch, veins popping. "Useless idiots," he screamed. "You can't even handle one promoted rookie." His face was twisted with anxiety. "We're out of time," he hissed. The investigators at Sunwheel Academy were closing in, finding clues about the murder. If anyone linked him to Toka's death, his life was effectively over. Desperate, Haru rushed to a bookshelf and triggered a hidden mechanism. A heavy door slid open with a mechanical hiss. He descended the staircase, guided only by the flicker of a lone pedestal flame, until he reached the underground sanctum. Looming before him was a grotesque multi-armed statue, surrounded by floating spheres and blazing torches. Haru dropped to his knees. Without hesitation, he drew a blade and sliced his own palm. Blood splattered onto the cold stone. Instantly, a towering armored figure with burning red eyes manifested, voice dripping with malice. "Why do you disturb my slumber?" the entity growled. "I told you emergency summons only." Haru, prostrate on the floor, didn't dare look up. "Great Gladosa, I need guidance," he begged. "This brat Lin Feng, he's wrecking your grand design. How do I end him?" Hearing the name, Gladosa's aura flared. "Anyone who defies fate gets crushed." "I will dispatch an executioner," the entity declared. Haru bowed deeply, relief washing over him. "Thank you," Haru stammered, but then his nerves got the better of him. "Please, make it quick." "Big mistake." Gladosa exploded with rage. "You dare rush me." A beam of crimson energy fired from the statue. It slammed into Haru like a freight train. "Do not command me, insect," Gladosa's voice boomed. The entity reminded the human of his place. He was nothing but a pawn. The impact was devastating. Haru was launched backward, debris shattering around him as the red energy detonated. A mix of crimson and yellow light swallowed the room. Haru had zero control, ragdolling through the air before skidding across the stone floor, smashing through rocks as he rolled. He dragged himself up, clothes, shredded body, battered and bleeding. But the pain only fueled his hate. "Lin Feng," he screamed, blaming the hero for every ounce of his misery. He sat amidst the rubble, panting heavily, completely unaware of the faint, ghostly spirit hovering silently in the shadows behind him. 3 days later, the Academy auditorium was buzzing as men in sharp black suits filed in for the exchange meeting. And right in the middle of the crowd, Lin Feng. Off to the side, Lin Feng lounged on a bench decked out in a sleek black suit. His face was a mask of calm, but inside, he was dying of boredom. "This is drier than dust," he thought. Serious regret was kicking in. He never should have sat through the principal's endless yapping session. He mentally groaned, thinking about how he could be back at the farm right now. "I could be cracking the code on hybridization," he fumed. "That's actual progress. This total waste of time." He took a lazy bite of his food. Taste is decent, at least. Suddenly, a blonde guy cut through the crowd, beelining straight for him. "Hey, you're student Lin Feng, right?" the guy called out. Lin Feng paused mid-chew, shifting his gaze to the interrupter. The blonde flashed a practiced plastic smile. "Is the rumor true? Did you seriously solo clear the Shadowwood dungeon, like completely by yourself?" He hyped it up, eyes wide. "That is insane. You gotta give me some pointers. Any advice for a fan?" Lin Feng's eyes narrowed into slits. Something's off, he thought. His gut screamed, red flag. Everyone else treats me like I'm radioactive, but this guy approaches me on purpose. Lin Feng dropped his head, burying his face in one hand to hide his expression. I can't talk about the dungeon," he mumbled, voice shaking. 3 seniors didn't make it back. It's too heavy." He forced out some ragged fake sobs, clutching a piece of bread like a lifeline. The blonde student's smile faltered, replaced by awkward pity. Whoa, hey, my bad. Didn't mean to trigger you, he backpedaled fast. I'll catch you another time when you're feeling better. As he spun around to leave, the blonde's sympathy evaporated instantly. His inner monologue turned icy. This is the guy with the rep. Is this really who Lord Guladoza wants eliminated? He scoffed internally. What a joke. He's pathetic. Lin Feng watched the blonde exit the frame. The tears vanished instantly. His expression reset to stone-cold indifference as he sat there unmoving. Cut to Haru's quarters. The scene shifted to a lonely figure laid up in bed. The room was dimly lit and suffocatingly quiet. Bandaged and broken, Haru stared blankly at the ceiling tiles. The Iron Lion, Duke, the nature instructors, even Guladoza. They've all been notified, he whispered to the empty room. So why can't I shake this bad feeling? Suddenly, a pool of purple darkness bubbled up from the floorboards right next to him. A voice oozed from the abyss. Because your instincts are spot on. Haru bolted upright, heart hammering. Who's there? Lin Feng materialized from the gloom, like a grim reaper flanked by the purple undead shadow that had been stalking Haru for days. Wicked undead energy swirled around them like dry ice fog. Haru's jaw hit the floor, eyes wide with terror. Lin Feng casually held up a single finger. Quick quiz. How many is this? Haru stammered, trembling. Is it one? Lin Feng's grin turned feral. Bingo. Green energy surged around his fist, crackling with raw power as he took a step closer. I've been way too patient with your nonsense, he declared. And then lights out. Lin Feng delivered a devastating blow, detonating a shockwave of green aura on impact. Haru got launched backward, cratering into the floor as erratic purple sparks fizzled around him. Lin Feng loomed over the scene, a dark flame dancing in his palm. Battered but not broken, Haru snapped his head up, eyes burning with pure venom. He fought to stand his body, vibrating with that same ominous violet glow. Lin Feng didn't flinch. Propping himself up on one shaky arm, Haru snarled, demanding to know how Lin Feng breached the perimeter. Lin Feng took a menacing step forward, his undead drifting like a ghost at his back. He cut straight to the chase. Was Haru, the mastermind behind the Gloom Forest dungeon incident. That accusation hit a nerve. Haru gritted his teeth, physically shaking with suppressed rage. Arcs of purple electricity snapped across his skin as he screamed furious that Lin Feng dared to lay a hand on him. Haru began to convulse as dark, violet energy cocooned his frame. Muscles swelled, veins pulsed with an unholy light, and his fingers twisted into razor-sharp talons. Opposite him, Lin Feng remained ice-cold, his summoned shadow radiating a matching lethal energy. Haru hunched over the sickening sound of bones cracking, echoing as power surged. Violent purple flames erupted, coiling around him like sentient shadows, while glowing runes etched themselves onto his skin. He snapped his head back, eyes glowing crimson, and triggered the demon clan's forbidden art, flesh sacrifice. The transformation accelerated, ears pointing, aura expanding, raw power flooding every fiber of his being. He straightened up, fully morphed into a demonic nightmare, engulfed in a vortex of black and purple hellfire. Lin Feng's eyes narrowed instantly. He clocked the technique on sight, his voice dropping an octave as he demanded to know if Haru was a demon clan sleeper agent. Accused of being demonized, Haru just threw his head back and laughed maniacally. He proudly proclaimed himself a devout disciple of Gladius. That wiped the calm off Lin Feng's face. This wasn't just a grunt. Haru was directly linked to the 7th demon king Gladius. The demonized Haru glared daggers, violet flames licking at his transformed body. He roared in fury. Enraged that Lin Feng had the audacity to drop his lord's name so casually. Zero warning, he blitzed forward. Shadows wreathed his arms as he bellowed for Lin Feng to die. But Lin Feng stood like a statue, his undead guardian drifting to the front, cloaked in swirling amethyst energy. As Haru charged in for the kill, Lin Feng's summon reacted with god-tier reflexes. She swept her glowing scythe upward, unleashing a crescent of brilliant purple light that deadlocked Haru's strike. But Haru wasn't stopping. He poured on the demonic pressure, and suddenly hairline cracks began to spiderweb across the undead's weapon. A split second later, purple fire erupted from Haru's palm, engulfing the blade and shattering it into dust instantly. The undead stared at her obliterated weapon. Haru's corrosive power wasn't just strong, it was overwhelming. Lin Feng watched her, his expression grim. Internally, he realized his mistake. He'd only planned to probe Haru's defenses, but the situation had spiraled. The female undead manifested a massive replacement scythe, channeling a torrent of necro energy to counter. The moment that blast connected, Haru let out a feral roar, exploding with blue and purple flames. Throwing his arms wide, he taunted Lin Feng, shouting that he'd been racking his brain on how to handle him. But he never guessed Lin Feng would serve himself up on a silver platter. Seeing Haru ramp up his power level, Lin Feng prepped his own aura, locking in his strategy. He calculated his odds and decided there was only one move left. exploit Haru's arrogance, and speedrun this battle. Haru, now blazing with blue fire, blocked the path. Lin Feng subtly tucked a hand behind his back and triggered a mass summons. In a heartbeat, a squad of shadowy figures materialized behind Lin Feng. Pointed ears, obsidian skin, and eerie glowing flames. They formed a phalanx at his side, spiking the threat level in the room immediately. Haru froze, stunned. He recognized the signature instantly. Lin Feng was wielding high-level undead magic, his face contorted with malice. "You really are a problem," he screamed. Tears actually started mixing with the madness on his face. As he rambled that Toka's death wasn't in vain, they'd uncovered a genuine human prodigy. But while he was monologuing, one of Lin Feng's shadows stepped up and lunged with a massive spear. The movement was a blur, driving the glowing projectile straight at Haru. The sharp purple energy skewered Haru's chest, dropping him to the floor. Before his brain could even process the hit, he was battered, yet his eyes still blazed with fanaticism. From the gloom, Lin Feng's voice cut through the air like ice, asking if he was the one who deleted Toka. Haru grounded his teeth, dark energy swirling around his limbs as he clutched his chest wound. His voice shook with ritualistic fever. As he began the chant, "Blood as the guide, soul as the bridge, I summon the master's will to descend." Instantly, black veins pulsed like worms under Haru's skin, and his eyes went full crimson. A violent shockwave of purple fire detonated, igniting a complex magic circle beneath him that flooded the room with light. He looked up and hissed, "Tremble before me." Witnessed the arrival of true darkness. The moment he screamed the name Gladius, a colossal nightmare of shadow and twisted horns loomed over him, blotting out the light. Orbs of energy floated in the air, crackling with violet hellfire, as Haru dropped to his knees in absolute submission. He bowed his head low, voice trembling as he addressed the entity as Lord Gladius. But before he could even finish his sentence, Wham! Gladius backhanded him across the room, demanding to know how a pathetic insect dared to speak her true name. Haru hit the floor hard, stunned and broken. Surrounded by drifting purple embers, he looked up in total confusion, whimpering, "Lord." Meanwhile, Lin Feng just stood there unbothered. Behind him, his entire legion of undead manifested, their spectral bodies glowing ominously. Haru pointed a shaking finger at Lin Feng, screaming for his master to kill him. Lin Feng's skeletal mage stepped up, hand glowing with concentrated power. He didn't hesitate, blasting a beam of pure violet energy straight at the Demon King. Gladius blinked. She actually looked surprised. She clocked it immediately. This human was a necromancer, which meant Heikui had already been taken out. She summoned a massive shield from the earth, effortlessly blocking the mage's energy beam. But that single exchange told her everything she needed to know. Her summoner was a joke. He was too fragile. Because he was so weak, her mana supply was unstable, and her defensive barriers were flickering. She made a decision and reached out toward Haru. She suspended him in midair, forcibly siphoning every ounce of energy from his being. Before his brain could even process the betrayal, a massive demonic claw slammed down from the heavens. Haru shrieked in terror as the raw, chaotic energy tore through his veins. His body twisted and cracked, crumbling under the overwhelming pressure. Gladius didn't care. She just drank in all that dark power. Her single crimson eye flared with intensity as tendrils of energy surged around her armor. Once she had drained Haru dry, she tossed his useless, withered body aside like trash. Her voice boomed deep and resonant, declaring that the real game had begun. Now she could properly crush Lin Feng, the so-called successor. Lin Feng stood his ground, silent and calculating. He analyzed the Demon King, realizing the math didn't add up. Even if his entire undead army rushed her at once, they wouldn't scratch her. A head-on collision was a suicide mission. Charging in blindly, that was a one-way ticket to the grave. Then his eyes darted to Haru's body, crumpled on the floor, and the glowing summoning circle pulsing beneath them. The circle was still shining. Lin Feng's expression shifted. A confident smirk played on his lips. He had a plan. He shouted out, mocking Gladius, calling her just another foolish member of the demon clan. He taunted her, saying he was shocked she hadn't fled yet, knowing he was a necromancer. Instead, she was dumb enough to challenge him. Now that he laughed is interesting. The purple aura around him flared as he snapped his hand up in a sharp command gesture. He pointed forward, ordering his legion to charge. Gladius scoffed, announcing that if this was his attempt at provocation, she would gladly oblige. She forged a whip of pure demonic energy and lashed out at Lin Feng, declaring she would do exactly as she pleased. Reacting instantly, Lin Feng's female undead stepped in, spinning her staff to weave a complex barrier of light. A shining wall materialized. Simultaneously, the skeletal mage conjured a swarm of floating protective bubbles around them. The defenses shimmered, layering over each other. But against Gladius, useless. Her attack smashed through them, sending the undead flying like ragdolls. Gladius looked down at them with pure disgust. She roasted them, wondering how weak Heikui must have been to lose to such a pathetic crew. She didn't let up. A second attack followed, obliterating Lin Feng's undead minions instantly. They shattered into dust. With his army gone, Gladius snatched Lin Feng up, dangling him helplessly in the air. She sneered, telling him she'd be generous and let him speak some famous last words before she ended him. She called him a disgrace to necromancers, claiming he knew nothing about the true power of the undead. But suddenly, Lin Feng grinned, a chilling, confident smile. Actually, he replied, I think you're the one who doesn't understand how this works. He pointed past her directly at one of his undead soldiers, standing over Haru's corpse, holding the summoner's severed head. He explained calmly he noticed she drained Haru's mana but kept him barely alive to maintain the link. He also noticed the summoning circle's power dropping rapidly. As the realization hit her, the Demon King's eye went wide with shock. Lin Feng broke free from her grip, reminding her that her time in this world had a strict limit. The moment he said it, Gladius's physical form began to glitch and fade. Lin Feng landed on the ground, dusting himself off with a smirk. Guess I was right. Gladius roared in fury, a sound of pure frustration. She screamed that this wasn't over, but her massive body was already erupting into light, fragmenting into nothingness. A blinding explosion of energy signaled her departure as her body dissolved into particles, leaving only fading sparkles in the air. When the dust settled, Lin Feng was the only one left standing in the ruins. He casually linked his hands behind his head, smiling at the empty space. I'll be waiting for round 2, he whispered. The explosion tore through the silence nearby, instantly putting the local officers on high alert. One of them screamed out, ordering the squad to investigate the chaos immediately. Lin Feng barely tilted his head as their frantic voices drifted over. His eyes widened, locking onto the approaching silhouettes, while faint purple sparks fizzled out around him in the darkness. No time to waste. Lin Feng booked it out of there, knowing this situation was going south fast. By the time dawn broke, he reached his farm on the city outskirts. He dragged his feet forward, bathing in the morning light. Internally, he was panicking. His mana tank was basically hitting zero. That escape was way too close. Clenching a fist, he realized that if he hadn't won that final high-stakes gamble, it would have been game over right there. Lost in those dark thoughts, he headed for his room, but suddenly a spiderweb fracture split the protective barrier around his farm. Lin Feng froze and whipped around, demanding to know who was there. Just then, the barrier shattered like glass as a blonde figure crashed through and stuck the landing right in front of him. Lin Feng's recognition was instant. He knew this guy. It was the same blonde dude from the student gathering the assassin dispatched by Demon King Gladius to put Lin Feng in a grave. The intruder sauntered forward, a massive blade on his back and a look of pure irritation plastered on his face. He complained that he was having a blast on a killing spree until his lord suddenly pulled the plug on the mission. Total buzzkill. Now in a foul mood, he drew his sword with a twisted grin, asking Lin Feng to just stand still and let him decapitate him to blow off some steam. Lin Feng didn't flinch. He casually raised a hand, commanding his undead army to rise. He waved with confidence, expecting a legion to appear, but absolutely nothing happened. His stoic mask cracked. Realization hit him like a truck. His mana pool was completely dry from the last battle. He was in a total mana vacuum and couldn't summon a single soul. Reflected in his eyes was the blonde assassin launching himself at Mach speed, sword primed for the kill. The guy moved like a human bullet, slashing his blade straight at Lin Feng's neck. The attack slammed into the farm with explosive force, the blonde attacker following through with a wide, lethal arc. Lin Feng leaped back, barely dodging the steel. Narrowing his eyes, a core memory suddenly unlocked. The Lamp of Nature. That artifact could supercharge the undead. He flashed back to the last battle, visualizing his skeletal warrior clutching the lamp, radiating that blinding holy energy. Lin Feng's expression shifted. If he could get his hands on that lamp, he might actually have a shot at clutching a victory here. But the clock was ticking. He sprinted ahead, but the chaos was unfolding way too fast as he tried to put distance between them. Out of nowhere, the farm's guardian, the green earth spirit, materialized, glowing with intense power midair. It roared, warning Lin Feng to fall back. The blonde maniac brought his weapon down with earth-shattering force. Lin Feng scrambled backward, the blade slicing the empty air where his head had been a millisecond ago. The attacker didn't pause. He swung again, painting a bright arc of destruction as he slashed forward. Lin Feng backpedaled furiously, letting the strike carve up the dirt instead. The two stood off under the burning orange sunset. The blonde assassin held his blade steady, while Lin Feng kept on his toes, analyzing every micro-movement. Suddenly, the earth behind Lin Feng ruptured. A colossal tree root erupted from the soil, shimmering in the twilight. The blonde man's eyes bugged out as he hopped backward. Another massive root, swirling with green energy, burst from the broken ground. The assassin spun toward it, totally stunned by the verdant light spiraling around the giant entity. The root lashed out, smashing into the earth and sending debris flying like shrapnel. The shockwave blasted the blonde guy backward as he shielded himself from the rock storm. More roots tore through the cracked earth. One slammed down on the assassin while others coiled protectively around Lin Feng. Lin Feng was bewildered as the glowing vines hoisted him into the sky. Pure confusion washed over his face. The roots wove together, forming an impenetrable cocoon around Lin Feng and a thick wall blocking the blonde killer. The assassin glared at the wooden barricade, scoffing that this was a cheap parlor trick. Energy surged around his sword as he prepped to swing, activating mana infusion. Flames began to lick around his body as he readied the strike. He unleashed a blinding/executing his signature off-the-charts handsome swordsmanship technique. He stepped in and thrust at the giant root wall. Bark and stone exploded on impact. His blade sliced through the magical wood like a hot knife through butter, dragging a fiery trail of destruction downward. He remained icy calm, peering through the breach. He spotted Lin Feng sprinting away for dear life. His shadow stretched long under the setting sun, while the blonde man watched the retreat. Seeing Lin Feng run like that triggered a heavy sense of déjà vu. It took him back to a dark hall lined with stone pillars, where a man in black was fleeing, and he was the hunter chasing him down. Steel gaze locked, adrenaline spiking, he blitzed forward, gripping the blade on his back ready to hunt. But before he could close the gap, a massive shadow loomed behind the blonde fighter. It was the Demon King Gladius. His voice boomed like thunder, ordering an immediate abort. The blonde guy snapped his head up. He pushed back, arguing the target was critical to the plan. If he didn't punch this noble's ticket now, the enforcement squad would wipe him out. Demon King Gladius stared daggers, asking if a pawn dared question the king. A crushing aura slammed into the blonde man. Bam! He was flattened against the stone floor, pinned by invisible weight. Gasping, he clawed at the ground. Suddenly, azure power flared around his silhouette. Gladius commanded him to track the signal, promising it would guide him straight to the kill. The moment those words dropped, a crest manifested in the dark, a glowing circle featuring a coiled dragon. The Gladius mark. The blonde fighter dropped to a knee, clutching the sigil like a lifeline. Head bowed, he whispered, total submission to his lord. Flash forward to the present. The memory faded. Mark in hand, he marched toward the massive wall of roots blocking his path. Golden Inferno ignited in his palm as he sized up the vegetation. Sneering at the farm-grown trash, he wound up and slammed his fiery fist into the green barricade, triggering a massive boom. Shockwaves rattled the earth, sending shrapnel flying. He strode through the smoke and embers cloaked in living flame. He figured out the gimmick. Eyes, predatory, he locked onto Lin Feng. Traitor, he roared, launching himself forward. Hands blazing. You can't outrun this. Lin Feng scrambled, sprinting across the terrain. The blonde hunter closed the gap, thundering footsteps eating up the distance. But just as he reached grabbing range, vines lashed out from every angle in an ambush. The blonde fighter launched skyward, spinning like a top, weaving past the green assault. Lin Feng fled in panic, but the hunter was already airborne right behind him. Blade out, lethal intent spiking. With a burst of speed, the blonde man descended, snagged Lin Feng mid-flight, and hurled him down. Crunch. Lin Feng smashed into the dirt, dust clouding the air. The hunter stuck the landing, smirking. He stared down at his prey. Game over. Silhouette against the dying sunset, he raised his greatsword. His posture screamed. Execution. He was ready to end the chase permanently. But Lin Feng looked up, flashing a chill, confident smile. Yeah, it is over. He'd already secured the lamp of nature. The artifact hovered above his palm, pulsating with light. Lin Feng tried to trigger it. Emerald energy swirling. The blonde man didn't hesitate, sword falling to deliver the death blow. Suddenly, the lamp sputtered. It didn't fully ignite. Lin Feng's eyes went wide. Was his necromancer mana too weak to fuel a nature artifact? Panic hit, but he pivoted instantly, tapping into his nature reserves, deciding to go all in. Light up, he screamed. The moment he poured that specific mana in, green fire erupted. The lamp went supernova. Lin Feng unleashed the blast, knocking the hunter back. The blonde man's smirk vanished as the glow hit his face. Lin Feng rose aura, shimmering the lamp, floating like a guardian. A split second later, the entire farm detonated. With a seismic wave of power, the earth groaned as nature energy flooded the zone. Vines burst from the soil, spreading like a virus. They coiled around trees and ruins, moving like apex predators. The blonde hunter whipped around, seeing the green tsunami crashing toward him. Too late to dodge. The vines snatched his limbs, binding him tight. He glared at the vegetation, pure fury in his eyes. Roaring, he cursed Lin Feng for being a filthy nature type. He thrashed, even as the glowing vines constricted. Summoning raw strength, he ripped through the bindings, shredding them to pieces. He hit the dirt and instantly pulled the Gladius mark. Violet aura exploded, sinking with his blade. The mark dumped massive demonic energy into his system, which he absorbed and radiated outward. Moving like a violet blur, he blitzed Lin Feng from every angle, sword slashing. Incoming Lin Feng planted his feet and unleashed the lamp, countering with a tidal wave of nature power. Channeling every ounce of that raw nature energy, Lin Feng finally triggers the summon. But the entity stepping out isn't the purple phantom we know. It's He Kui, the OG necromancer manifested in the flesh. Yet something's different. He's not rocking his usual undead aesthetic. The guy is decked out in a living armor of vines and leaves, looking like a vengeful forest god. Instantly, he weaves a shield of pure nature, effortlessly tanking the blonde guy's sword barrage. Blondie tries to shove back with a massive surge of demonic power, but it's like pushing a mountain. Then snap. The blonde man's sword shatters into confetti. Kui, draped in his verdant battle gear, struts through the dust cloud. His gaze is lethal and glowing green mana pulses around his fists like charged gauntlets. The blonde guy's jaw hits the floor. He recognizes the summon immediately. You're supposed to be dead, he stammers. Kui gives zero response. He just stands there, menacing green flames licking the air around him, coiled to strike. Bathed in an emerald aura, Lin Fang stares ahead, ice cold. He drops a single ruthless command to his guardian. End him. That's the green light. Kui blurs forward vines, whipping and snatches the blonde man up. He drags the guy like a ragdoll, green fire trailing in their wake. The enemy's eyes bulge in pure terror. Wait, we're on the same sea, he screams, but he never finishes that sentence. Crunch. A massive impact silences him instantly. Blood sprays across the scene like a horror movie. Kui just absolutely crushed him. The broken body hits the dirt, leaking crimson, as the green flames roast the remains. Threat neutralized, Lin Feng collapses, coughing up a lung. The tank is empty. He's running on fumes. As he hits the deck, that intense, green glow flickers and dies out. He looks up at his guardian, totally spent. I'm tapped out, he whispers. Lights out. He faceplants into the dirt, completely unconscious before he even settles. The nature crystal lamp hovers nearby, dull and drained of juice. Kui looms over his master, watching with a stoic gaze. He exhales slowly, realizing the kid is just out cold, not dead. Then the shift happens. Purple inferno erupts, burning away the vine armor. The dark energy floods back, consuming the green skin. It's a full-on metamorphosis. Black tribal markings flare across his chest. Purple fire swirls violently, muscles hardening, eyes glowing with that signature necromancer malice. He's back in his true undead form, but as soon as the transformation peaks, his body starts to glow with blinding intensity. He begins to fragment. The purple shell cracks and shatters into pixelated dust. The aura vanishes, and just like that, he despawns into thin air. Cut to a total vibe shift. We see a panoramic shot of a lush valley mountains framing a peaceful green landscape. In the distance, flags bearing a lion crest flutter in the wind. It's a squad of armored knights riding in perfect formation. White steeds marching in sync. Protecting the VIPs is a fancy royal carriage rolling down the path. Inside, we have a trio. One in blue, a redhead, and a mysterious figure in black. The carriage rolls smooth, under the bright sun. But inside, the mood is heavy. The red-haired warrior looks intense, his armor catching the light beaming through the window. Sitting opposite him, an older veteran with a long beard studies him in silence. The tension is thick enough to cut with a knife. The redhead looks down, wrestling with some heavy thoughts. The veteran watches him, keeping his mouth shut. He turns his gaze to the window, watching the scenery roll by. It's all blue skies and green hills until glitch. A weird swirling green energy pulses around a hidden cabin in the woods. Boom! The shockwave hits the carriage, shaking the whole rig violently. The passengers freeze, eyes wide. Another tremor rocks the vehicle. As something dark slams onto the roof, the impact jolts them hard. Suddenly outside, streaks of energy shoot across the sky like meteors. The horses keep galloping, but you can't ignore a disturbance that loud. The redhead clocks it first. Shock paints his face, and he snaps forward. The brakes hit. A knight pulls up to the window, bowing low to report. The redhead and the blue-haired girl lean in, listening to the intel. After the debrief, the redhead leans back. He looks calm, but his gears are turning, processing the chaos they just drove past. Fast forward to dawn. Golden light floods Lin Feng's farm, but it's a wasteland. Giant vines choke the ruins, total carnage. Dust and ruins choke the air, but suddenly whoosh, a squad arrives wrapped in blinding white light and moving at supersonic speed. It's the same crew from the carriage. They stick the landing right at the edge of the farmland, led by the captain rocking long brown hair. A radiant aura shimmers behind him, framing his intense expression as he scans the wreckage, his jaw practically hitting the floor. This is pure undiluted nature magic, he murmurs, while his team fans out to inspect the thick, tangled vines. One of the guys shakes his head. No way. You're telling me a powerhouse like this was hiding out in the middle of nowhere? Another member chimes in. Man, if I had magic this pure, I wouldn't just be a teacher. I'd snatch the dean's seat in a heartbeat. A younger recruit analyzes the debris field, pointing to the cratered earth and levitating stones. Look at this destruction. Definitely a clash with the demon clan. That's when the captain spots him, Lin Feng, out cold on the dirt, with the legendary lamp of nature lying right next to him. The brown-haired leader closes the distance, looming over Lin Feng's prone form. His gaze locks onto the artifact, the lamp of nature, and he snaps his head up the pieces of the puzzle, clicking together instantly. His eyes go wide. He forced the lamp to activate. The magical backlash must have knocked him out cold. Emerald energy flares around his palms as he drops to one knee, pressing both hands firmly against Lin Feng's chest. A gentle stream of nature magic flows into the boy to stabilize his core, but inside, Lin Feng's mindscape, absolute chaos shifts into view. His spirit avatar floats in a neon blue void, pulsating with waves of purple and azure energy. Swirling chains of raw power coil around him like snakes. He glances around, totally shook, asking himself, "Is this?" Inside me, the energy ripples against his skin. It's not cold, it's warm. It feels surprisingly gentle, almost calm, and he realizes with a jolt that this power belongs to him. Violet flames lick up his arms as he stares into the void. "This has to be my own strength," he whispers. He reaches out purple wisps, dancing between his fingers, and brushes the drifting aura floating before him. Instantly, he's engulfed in a roaring inferno of pink and purple fire, his gaze hardening as he analyzes the surge. Wait, is this necromancer power? Before he can finish, the energy detonates, sending him tumbling through the kaleidoscopic void. He's thrown through a tunnel of light and color flames, twisting violently, until he manages to break and stabilize his spirit form. What the hell is going on? Confusion splashes across his face as purple fire constricts his torso and arms like a vice. He tenses up, a cold realization hitting him. This necromancer energy, it is absolutely not under his control. Suddenly, a massive heart-shaped purple core materializes in the distance, pulsing high above the spiritual clouds. Lin Feng stares up from below, completely dwarfed by the throbbing object. While energy swirls around him, the clouds churn, and a small, shadowy silhouette begins to knit together within the glowing mist. The clouds part like curtains, and stepping out is He Kui, the original necromancer, fully restored in human form, draped in an aura of pink and midnight black. He hovers ominously above Lin Feng. Shocked, our hero screams, "He Kui! How are you still kicking? I thought you were dead." He Kui keeps a poker face. "Oh, I died all right." Then a creepy grin splits his face as purple flames lick his body. "And honestly, I have you to thank for it. You helped me grasp the true meaning of death." He Kui extends a hand, dark energy coiling around his arm like a viper. He lunges, and out of nowhere, a colossal claw made of swirling purple and black void materializes, rushing straight for Lin Feng. Panic sets in as the purple tendrils constrict, squeezing the life out of him. This is bad. Cold sweat drips down his face as he strains against the bind. I can't break out." He Kui charges in with a maniacal laugh wreathed in dark flame. "Once I end you, your body becomes my new vessel." He gets right in Lin Feng's face, uncomfortably close. "That is the moment of my true rebirth." But in the real world, the brown-haired captain pumps a massive surge of nature energy into the boy. Boom! A blinding white shockwave slams into He Kui from behind in the spirit realm. The blow throws him forward, and he spins around, face twisted in total disbelief. Lin Feng stares up as another pillar of white light crashes down from the heavens. The purple dimension quakes violently. He Kui flinches as the impact lands inches away, followed instantly by another deafening blast. Cutting through the chaos, a massive glowing tree root shoots out of the white cloud and smacks He Kui dead on. He Kui contorts in midair, face warping in agony as the attack connects, while Lin Feng floats in the background, still bound but watching the tables turn. Gravity takes over, and He Kui crashes into the mental floor, engulfed in a roaring storm of purple and black fire. Lin Feng, trapped in the enemy's grip, plummeted like a meteor. Aerial strikes rained down, forcing He Kui to tank the barrage. The villain snarled, calling the assault terrifying. His blood boiled as he clocked exactly where that power was coming from. Gritting his teeth, he cursed the nature-type energy signature. With a savage roar, He Kui spiked Lin Feng into the earth with maximum force. Lin Feng smashed into the concrete as purple inferno flames erupted around him. He Kui raised a hand, ready to deliver the death blow. But before he could strike, Lin Feng's nature energy detonated, flooding the entire zone. His physical body seemed to drift away, pulled into a psychedelic void of swirling neon. One side blazed purple, the other vibrant green, leaving him floating in zero gravity. He spiraled through the air, fighting for equilibrium. Suddenly, he slammed into an invisible barrier between dimensions. Smash to black. A golden haze pierced the darkness like a sunset, filtering through a forest, dragging his consciousness back to reality. Lin Feng's eyes snapped open on the cold ground. Electro-patches were already wired to his chest. He wiped cold sweat from his brow, gasping for air. That was way too close to game over. His necromancy gauge had hit 0 earlier, meaning He Kui was running on fumes and couldn't sustain the brawl. But he never calculated that He Kui was literally the battery hiding inside that undead aura. A legitimate high-level threat. As Lin Feng processed the tactical failure, he spotted a brunette stranger looming over him. The man spoke with clinical detachment. He'd scanned Lin Feng's vitals, just a severe case of mana burnout. Coupled with minor internal tremors, but he'd live. A subordinate chimed in, confirming the perimeter scan was complete. The energy signature they tracked belonged to a high-tier demon elite, someone clocking in at level 20 or higher. Suddenly, a scout flagged the brunette leader, signaling that their patient had regained consciousness. Lin Feng lay on a field stretcher, head spinning as he propped himself up. The brunette leader caught his eye immediately. He noted the emergency treatment was a success. A suited agent helped Lin Feng stand and got straight to the point. "You the one who zeroed that demon?" He asked how the kid was feeling. Lin Feng hesitated, clocking the crowd closing in. Eyes locked on him. He lowered his gaze, face hardening into a poker face. His inner monologue kicked in. Unknown variables everywhere. Best tactical move, keep his mouth shut. Seeing the kid wall up, the brunette leader stepped in, voice soothing. "Relax, kid." He analyzed Lin Feng with a sharp professional gaze. Internally, he was reeling. The kid's nature magic was dangerously pure. Could this be the child of nature? Vera hyped up. Lin Feng's student ID slid out of his pocket. The leader snatched a quick look. Sunwheel Academy uniform, Sunwheel ID. He nodded, then flashed his own credentials. A proper introduction. We're instructors from the Extraordinary Academy Nature Division. Hearing the prestige, Lin Feng scrambled to his feet and bowed. He formally identified himself as a Sunwheel student, paying respects to the seniors. Suddenly, heavy footsteps approached. A redhead commander marched onto the scene, flanked by a squad of armored troopers. They surveyed the wreckage in stunned silence. The redhead stepped into the light and spotted the brunette instructor. Master Seymour. Recognition flashed instantly. He demanded a sitrep on the disaster. Seymour kept it cool. Demon Clan incursion. Neutralized. He pointed to the rookie. Courtesy of this student from Sunwheel. The redhead froze, sweat beading on his forehead. He walked up to Lin Feng, disbelief written all over him. He clamped a hand on the boy's shoulder, forcing a proud grin. Heroes really do start young these days. But then he glanced toward the debris. His expression shattered, eyes popping in sheer horror. He stared at the rubble, and the blonde corpse sprawled in the dirt. Realization hit him like a truck. He knew the victim. Master Seymour touched his shoulder gently. "Count, you all right?" The redhead hung his head trembling. Seymour pressed him, addressing him as Lord Count. "Find something." Silence stretched for a beat. The Count finally spoke, voice heavy. "I'm just thinking. We bleed on the front lines, holding the demons back, and yet a rat still manages to slip through the rear guard. It's a disgrace." Seymour watched him unimpressed. "The threat is neutralized. Count. We're done here." Seymour turned to leave, then tossed an order over his shoulder to his aide. "Yolan, secure the kid. The principal wants a word with him."